Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, JB, your sports guy. On the show today, we're going to have Jonathan Wells, former Houston Texans running back coach, not coach, running back player, join us. Also, we're going to talk about high school football, who's the best quarterback in the state, and also, we have about 12 teams ranked in the top 300 in the state. Are some of these teams deserving of it? Joining me is my co-host that you can catch on Crescent City Sports, the one and only VK Jones. VK, what's going on?
What's going on, Jared? What's going on, everybody? Like, tag, share, and subscribe to JB Your Sports Guy, Vashawn K. Jones on your YouTube and all your social media platforms. We appreciate you joining us on the Hash It Out Show. It is Legends Month right here in July. We have all football legends that we're interviewing this month going into the football season coming up. We'll have part 2 of Legends Month coming up in October as we'll focus more on hoops. So we got a lot going on tonight. We're going to start with a very legendary first guest in itself, and we're looking forward to talking with him. Go ahead, Jared.
Yes, indeed. Our first guest for tonight was a star quarterback at Amite High School, and then he finished his college career at Tulane University. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Lester Ricard Jr. Lester Ricard, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, man. I'm blessed, man, and excited to be here. Congratulations on this journey. Obviously this is a new endeavor for you guys, but I see great things on the horizon. So this is fun. I appreciate the offer.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate it, and thank you for joining
Yeah.
us. What or who got you into playing football?
Well, it has to start with my dad, right? My dad was a high school quarterback at back then Greensburg, St. Helena. I don't know how they were split up back in the day, man. That's when I tell him that's when dinosaur ruled the earth. So he got me involved with it. I fell in love with Randall Cunningham, Joe Montana, and Warren Moon as a young child, and then it graduated to Charlie Ward. To this day is my favorite athlete, quarterback, football player, basketball player. Just what I thought that he meant at Florida State during that time was so inspirational to me as a young football player, as a young man who was growing into the game of football. I was blessed to go to a tremendous high school and middle school in that Amite school district. Went on to play for a great Nick Saban, and then ultimately played at Tulane, and got some years in the NFL. And so it was, I tribute my daddy, my father, Lester Senior, for putting me involved. I also have to give a shout out to my mother, because she was the one who was picking me up a lot of days and dropping me off, and she was telling my dad, like, this boy got my whole car stinking. So she deserves her flowers for putting up with the cleat smell on the grass field behind the old football stadium at Amite.
Speaking of Amite,
Hmm.
football there is rich in tradition.
Yeah.
Tell us about the community out there that follows Amite football.
Yeah. I've been blessed to coach at some great high schools and traditionals, especially at Huntville High School. That's a great community that gets behind their football players and their football team, and they give you all the support on the Friday nights, good, bad, and different. They're there to support their football program. Amite is no different. Amite is a place that's packed out. It's kind of changed. The dynamics of Amite has changed since I've left. But man, you're talking about a place when I was coming up, when you played against Independence, you can rob about 10,000 homes in that area, right? Because at 3 o'clock p.m., we used to be getting out of school, and you could smell the barbecue pits lighting up. You could see all the tradition, people with their cowbells, 4 or 5 hours before a game setting up. And there's no place like Amite. I mean, you look at the athletes that's come through there. Obviously, Devontae Smith is the first that comes to mind, right? Heisman Trophy winner, Alabama national championship. But we don't talk enough about Cletus Gordon, which a legendary football player, C.J. Baptiste, a state champion, Kendrick Perry, Alan Ricard, Jonathan Foster, John Bell Edwards.
The
to name
governor.
to name a few greats that's come out of school, man. And it's so special, man. You feel like you're not just playing for that Amite Warrior logo on your helmet, that Amite name that used to be on the back, because we didn't have our names in the back, but you were playing for previous generations of relatives who played there, uncles, aunties, cousins, and if you didn't play well, everybody in the community let you know that you sucked. And you always had to live up to that standard. Your cousin played here, and if you didn't cut the mustard, well, then they were gonna let you know about it. So it's a really rich traditional area in terms of football and the great players that's come through there.
I want to read something right quick, and I quote.
Mm-hmm.
Your senior year, you passed for 2,421 yards and 23
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns. Led your team to the semifinals of the Class 3A playoffs.
Oh
What's next?
gosh, Lord, don't remind me of that, man.
I'm not
The
trying.
late great Chris Henry knocked us out, man. We was up 14-0 at halftime, and Bell Chase, I'll never forget them cowbells. It was standing room only around that little small stadium, and it was probably 20 deep. But yeah, man, you said semifinal. That hurt, man. It
I'm
stung me right
sorry.
there. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You were also the district's most valuable player.
Mm-hmm.
You got All-American honors from Parade Magazine and Super Prep.
Mm-hmm.
Also was the number 5 ranked quarterback by Rivals.com.
Mm-hmm.
With me saying all that, what is your best memory of playing football at Amite High School?
What is my greatest memory? Wow. Probably the day that I signed my scholarship, my letter of intent to go to LSU. My sister Leslie, who works for the mayor here in Baton Rouge at the time, she was a student at Southeastern, had gone on to Southern, finished up the undergrad there and a law school degree there. But it wasn't the state championship, which is high on the list. I also, did some other things in the field, but signed my name on that letter of intent, and that was the reason why I got into coaching. Why was to watch these young men get an opportunity to change their family's trajectory. All right, with a college degree, and the opportunity to get in a college degree, and knowing that I signed that letter of intent, that my mother didn't have to pay for nothing, my father didn't have to pay for nothing, was my greatest high school football experience. Was watching them be full of joy and full of happiness that day, knowing that all the hard work, all the football camps that we had gone to, all of the times I've been cursed out by Donna Career, was well worth the journey. So I would say that's exactly the greatest moment of my football playing career. They meet was signing that national letter of intent on February the 6th. I'll never forget that day of 2002.
Yes, indeed. Now, you went to LSU.
Yeah.
I want to know why you chose LSU. I want to
Yeah.
know, what did Nick Saban say in your living room when he came recruit you? What did he tell you that sold you on LSU? I don't want to hear about it's my dream school in the state. What did Nick Saban do?
Well, I mean, obviously, listen, I'm a mama's boy, right? And so I didn't want to go too far from mama's nest, and I want to come home and get my home cooking, just like most kids does when they go to LSU. But ultimately, at the end of the day, man, it was my dream school. I remember Jared Denardo was the first person to offer me going into my sophomore year, and that was his last season as football coach. And Dorset Buckles at time with him at the time was starting Mike linebacker for us at Amite, who ultimately became my college roommate my freshman at LSU. But man, just the way he sold the process to my mother and father, and how when we sat in the living room as a family, him and Jimbo Fisher sitting there and really having a plan for my life, not just as a football player, but in life, period. And I still think that Nick Saban does this to this day, that nobody can share the process journey of what you're going to be, not just as a football player, but what they're going to project to you for the rest of your life, and the opportunities are going to open for you with his leadership. And so I saw myself not only just being a starting quarterback, but a life after football. And he made that dream of really a possibility, though I didn't stay, and I don't blame him or anybody else or anybody signing or anything like that. And I talked about this on someone else show there in New Orleans, how, when I got to college, I wasn't quite ready for what truly a college football player, especially a quarterback at that level, what the mandates were and what was, called upon for a quarterback to play at a high level, to be successful. And that's one of the things I've always tried to teach back and pay back with the quarterbacks who I've trained in my coaching career is always having those guys prepared to be ready to play at the next level, and especially from a maturity standpoint on what is expected of you from that college coach.
Your freshman year, you were redshirted. The
Mm-hmm.
following year, you transferred to Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about your playing days at Tulane.
It was phenomenal, man. I was a 3-year starter. Unfortunately, I was a starter during Katrina. Though I was happy to be the starter, just what we went through as a football team was tougher than what people could understand because and so many people whose lives were turned upside. I mean, we were just playing a game that we loved, and so many lives were lost during Katrina. But it was tough. I mean, we were hearing all the stories. We would never return back to New Orleans. We'll never return back to Tulane. It played a huge mental fatigue on our mind, and but it was great, man. I played for Frank Selfo, who was my offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, who is now at Southeastern, having success year in and year out. He's running the top 10 FCS program. He always held me accountable day in and day out at practice, on and off the field. He made me understand what it took to be a successful quarterback. That year I set out, I watched behind J.P. Lossman and watched the preparation he put into being a big-time quarterback. And so I love Tulane. I found my love there, my wife. It's just so much that came into it. And, I have a beautiful son through that process. So I'm indebted to what Tulane gave me and the time that I spent there.
Before I pass it on to VK, you mentioned about Hurricane Katrina. You guys had relocated to Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
How hard was that relocating to Louisiana Tech at that time?
It was tougher than what people thought. I mean, what you could imagine, right? And from an academic standpoint, we were all, slated to take, 12 to 15, 18 hours of classes. But when you get to Louisiana Tech, they're on a quarter system, right? Which, you take 9 hours is really the minimum you take. And we kind of readjusted our whole academic process and our projection because, we didn't restart, but you lost that 6 hour to 9 hour window that you would have been graduating a year earlier. And I still was blessed to get done, a semester early, but it was tough, man. The mental fatigue, not seeing your family like you usually do. I know I struggled that year just because of all of the, we had a lot of infighting with players and coaches and families families wanting to be a part and see their families. And, it was a really tough dynamic that we went through. Obviously, we got through it. We returned in January back to Tulane, and and I really felt we felt the scars of what we had gone through the year afterwards. That we were back in New Orleans, that we were back playing in the Dome, that we were back on Tulane's campus. We still felt the scars of those infighting battles that we had as a program, and in games we should have won, we didn't eke them out. In games we should have pulled away from teams, we didn't. And I remember we going 5-7 my senior year, and instead of that being kind of a 7-5, 8-4, 9-3 football team, we just didn't get over the hump, and a lot of trust was lost during that process. But people ask me all the time, would you go back and play that season? 10 times out of 10. And because man, I got to finish my junior year with those seniors: Trey Boger, Anthony Cannon, Sean Lucas, just people who I thought were just outstanding and upstanding men who have gone on to just do tremendous things in this world. And so, yeah, man, Bruce Ullman, Bubba Terranova, I can go on and on about those guys. Chris McGee, I mean, they were great men, man, just phenomenal men. And I wouldn't have done it with any other group of men.
Coach, man, it's good to have you on and everything.
Yeah.
And you are everywhere, my friend. I tell you that, man. It's like we run into each other every time.
Yeah,
the last time I seen you was at the ladies' top 28. And
that's right.
I didn't recognize you, but I had to look at. I'm like, oh Lord.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But man, I gotta tell you, over the years, like, you have really worked in everything to get where you need to get. And everything. I remember when you played for Amite, and it was funny that I was going to that playoff game against Amite and Bell Chase, and I turned around and left because I seen how packed the stadium was.
It was
and
crazy.
I said, man, we ain't about to get up in here. So we left from there, but we seen the highlights, and regardless of that loss, I mean, you played an unbelievable ball game, and
Appreciate that.
and you showed a lot in that ball game.
Appreciate that.
But talking about the Amite program in itself and what you can say, Donna Carrier, Alden Foster, and also now you see the head coach Zephaniah Powell, who's really maintaining this program. What are your thoughts on how this Amite program is continuing to thrive to being a state power?
Well, listen, man, they're always going to be a place that's loaded with talent. I mean, year in and year out, they're second to none in terms of what type of product they put out there, with the talent that they get from. They get them from different places. You call it Butlertown, Hines Quarters, Bennett Road, Roseland, Fluka. I don't know how to, Velma. They get them from all over that area. Even kids like myself, I actually grew up in San Helena Parish. And because my mother was working at a law firm out there, we just commuted day in and day out. And, man, they're able to get so much, man. And because of the tradition that's there, people and students and parents, they migrate to that school, man, because they know the product that they're going to put out there on the field every Friday night. There's no place like that Warrior House, man. And so, it's so much tradition. And like I talked about earlier, you don't play for just, obviously you play for the school, you play for your family, but you play for your extended family, the people who are outside, because those people look and say, listen, if you don't reach this standard of play, we're going to dog you out in the barbershops. It don't matter where you are. They are going to talk about you on Sunday mornings at church. They don't care how young you are. If they feel like you're on that football field and they see you out there playing, their expectations are you better be as good as Rodney Boykins. You better be good as Lester Ricard. You better be good as Brandon Mitchell at quarterback. You're playing quarterback at Amite. That's the expectations. All right. And so you out there, you got to get the job done. They don't care that Devontae Smith won the Heisman. They feel like if you out there, you good enough to win the Heisman just as well as he is. And so it's a beautiful dynamic, man. And not everybody is built for what is expected from a coaching perspective. But we've been blessed to have guys who have steadied that ship. I always give Donna Career so much of the credit. The guys that he produced, not only as players, but you look at myself, who's had a pretty good, successful coaching career. His son is coaching at Sumner High School. Jonathan Foster's had a tremendous career over at Kentwood. Dorcett Buckles, what he's done at Hammond High School, at Capital High School, what Chris Gordon is doing over at St. Helena. There's so many guys that have gone on that has played for him, that understand that high standard of coaching and what is expected of you. They go on and do a tremendous job. And it's because of really that foundation that Coach Career has taught us, and that work ethic that it takes to be successful.
Absolutely. And it was a privilege to finally go to Amite to call a ball game for Crescent City Sports years ago with Amite.
I remember playing man.
35.
Oh,
yes.
Mac 35. I remember that too.
Yeah. That was unreal. And I mean, how the game ended was unbelievable. Devontae Lee.
I remember that.
And also Devontae Smith. And it's something that the community means so much for those kids, especially when Devontae Smith went for the Heisman Trophy and the coverage and everything. And when he won it, I was very, very happy for him and that community and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's something else. I'm like, it ain't just the fact Devontae Lee won. It's like Amite won. You know what I'm saying? That's big for that community.
Well, honestly, we say Amite won, and they did, but the state of Louisiana won that day to me. I know he played for the University of Alabama, and we get caught up in, LSU hates Alabama. But let me tell you something. Devontae Smith represents the fabric of what this state's all about. Family, faith, football, and being really a community person. That's what you look at anytime you look at our small communities, even our bigger cities like New Orleans and Baton Rouge. You look at what Leonard Fournette and Tyrann Mathieu mean to the city of New Orleans, right? That's what Devontae Smith means to not just Amite, but the state of Louisiana, because I felt like, and we got emotional in our house, my sisters, my mother, we all got because of what he came from and knowing his background and who he is and how he's always been a high level, respectful young man, and obviously his success is not shocking to any of us who've seen his story. But man, he represents Louisiana, man, and I don't think that we talk about that enough of the job he's done in representing Louisiana.
Devontae Smith's the first to win it out from the boot from the state itself, and then after that, Joe Burrow. It's good to be proud
But
from a state.
but Joe ain't from this boot now. Joe
He
went to LSU.
I know, but still, you're
Okay,
not
y'all want
from
to
here.
claim? Y'all can claim. Y'all can claim if you want to.
I'm like this. When you come from another state, but you represent us,
Yeah,
we claim you
yeah.
when you
It's
do it
no
right.
doubt. We do. We do that.
Like Drew Brees when he
Yeah,
comes here and won the title for the Saints, we
yeah.
claim him because
Yeah,
he's
we
to the
do.
bank.
Yeah,
But I'll get what you're saying on that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
I gotta ask you this, my friend.
Hmm.
Let's get a little bit real on this. Talking about
Uh,
A meet and everything. Talk about the A meet and Kentwood rivalry. Tell us
yeah.
how big that rivalry is. And I remember a couple years ago,
Mhm.
we were this close to a Kentwood A meet state championship one
That's
year.
right. That's right. That's right. Because Kentwood was in 2A. Amy that came down from 3A to 2A. Man, listen, that rivalry it's pretty ridiculous, guy. You gotta look at Jonathan Foster. He makes it even greater because of his success as a football player at Amy, and he lives in Amy. He goes back every day back into that community. He talks smack to everybody in Amy. That's what I love about Jonathan Foster, man. All of his cousins, if you know anything about the Foster clan, and I'm telling you, a clan, they are a clan. Like they have enough Fosters in they meet that they can start their own little city out there. And so he lets every one of them know at every family reunion that, hey, man, we coming. You know, these kangaroos are coming. You come out here and play on this water tower, we're gonna bust your head. He don't care who he's around. He would tell John Bell Ellis and his dad. Oh my gosh, we call him Sick Boy, right? You know, him and my mama are like brothers and sisters. He's no different. He lets you know, oh, my boy down there at Kentwood, he gonna deal with them Warriors. And before it was Amy and Independence and Kentwood, it was kind of the trifecta rivalry. Anytime Amy played Independence or Kentwood, or Independence played Kentwood or Amy, it was a pack your house. Obviously Independence is not what they used to be, post Brandon Tofield, Brandon Dawson era. But
Yeah.
man, I tell you what, they've all migrated to Amy and they've all migrated to Kentwood. And man, there's no place like it. It really is no place like that on a Friday night.
It's something else that all of a sudden, all these years later, you could say Independence was replaced by St. Helena.
I
So
know, right?
that's something else that the trifecta got replaced.
Yeah.
But
But even back then, you talk about Adam Foster. Adam Foster was coaching St. Helena when I was in school. Now we still was putting it to St. Helena like nobody's business, right? I need to make sure that I preference that, since they've gotten into this trifecta race. But I'll never forget my senior year. We were in the dogfight with St. Helena, and obviously I went back into that community that night and that morning, got my hair cut. I had hair back then. I don't have it anymore, right? But it was, man, we had y'all last night, and now the emergence of what that is now is it's special, man. Those three playing against each other is very special nights out there in that community.
well, looking at before I go forward more into your career, what are your thoughts of the AME athletics? How the school now is more than football. How they have
Yeah,
made success on the basketball court
yeah,
and on the track.
yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, you just like we talk about the athletes that come through there are special, but one of the things I would like to see, right, and this is just you know looking at it from a distance, my role as what I am now in the district of EBR, man, I just wish Tangipahoa Hope Parish would reinvest athletic back into those schools, right? I mean, you've got to start putting some money in those resources. You don't have, but I don't know what, 6, 7 high schools, and I might be cutting them short. You got Kentwood, Sumner, Amy. I'm just kind of going through Independence, LaRonger, um, Hammond, and Ponchatoula, right? I think that's 7, 8 high schools that you have, and those are all in communities that you could start taxing and start at least asking for taxes that you can put money back into those schools, man. It's just it's frustrating, man. It's really frustrating that not one school in Tangipahoa Whole Parish has field turf, right? Especially
Wow.
with all of the state championships that Amite has won, all the state championships that Kentwood have won, all the great athletes that's come through there, and what they've invested. You have Ponchatoula, a great affluent city. Hammond, a great affluent city. Amite, a great affluent city. Kentwood's a little smaller. Independence is smaller. But man, let's do something to put back into those schools, man, because we're putting out athletes. You're putting out Heisman Trophy winners. You're putting out guys who are playing on Sundays coming out of those schools. Please, like I would like to see the school board really reinvest back into those athletic programs. I mean, they built a brand new gym, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I might be, selling them. I don't know if it's within the 10-year window. It's been within the 10-year window they built that brand new gym. But man, like this, they've got to do more, man, and reinvesting back in those programs because they earned it. Because you look now, St. Helena is field turf, brand new football stadium. There's a project out there for them to get a field house, and I know they're kind of under the charter umbrella and they can do things differently. But man, if it takes St. Meat going charter to get some resources, go charter and get them resources.
Well, big ups going to that Amite track program, the basketball program,
Yeah.
under a very young coach, and the girls basketball program under Coach Pierre.
Oh,
What a
she's
job
special.
she done with that program in itself, what
She's
we have
special.
seen the last couple years, and they're gonna have a
Yeah.
great squad again next year.
Yes,
So I
they are,
cannot
man.
wait to see it. But
Yes, sir.
let's talk about your playing career a bit, going into the NFL. Talk
Yeah.
about your time in the
Yeah.
NFL and what it taught you more than anything else with the experience you had, and
Yeah.
also what made you get into coaching after.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Playing in Jacksonville in Carolina was, listen, I never forget our opening game. We were playing against the Tennessee Titans. Get a chance to go see my boy Roydell Williams, and y'all have got to get on this podcast, man. You've got to get Roydell, man. He would love to come on here.
Okay.
All
I
right.
remember we were playing against him. We went out to eat dinner the night before the game, and I'm sitting on the sideline. I'm standing next to Mike Shula and Dirk Cutter, and man, I just those man, they flew over the stadium, and I looked up and just, I'm not gonna say the spirit of the Lord, but some spirit came over me, and I just started crying, man. Like, Lester Ricard Jr., country boy, you made it, man. I couldn't believe it, man. And I remember calling my mother and father after the game. Was like, that what a. It's like we lost the game too. And I remember being on the sideline with my headphones on, Mike Shula having me chart plays, and it was a blessing, man. Playing for Jack Del Rio, who had so many New Orleans ties. That year in particular, my rookie year, we came down and played the Saints. And I remember Jack Del Rio asking me where was I going to eat at Dick and Brennan's Steakhouse with him. I was like, no, I got plans. And at the time, Sweet Fire and Ice was in Metairie.
Yeah.
And we went, me and my mother and family, we all went, ate over there. And, obviously it was on big less at the time because I can afford to pay for stuff then, right? And, they got whatever they wanted, full steaks, man, give me the appetizer, everything on top of that. And, man, it was amazing, man. Just those years of playing the league. Then I went on to Carolina, played with John Fox, who we all called him Foxy. And I don't know if you all remember, I was on that team when Steve Smith and Ken Lucas got into the fight. Remember when Steve Smith got suspended for fighting in practice?
Yes.
And I'll never forget
Yes.
Richard Marshall. We had a team meeting, man. And Richard Marshall, Brandon Tofield could tell you the same story. It's another one y'all need to get on here. My boy, man. Brandon Tofield and I, I was in Jacksonville with him. Then I went to Carolina, and it's part of the reason why I want to go to Carolina because he left me. And I was living at his house, and he was like, you got to get out. It's like, okay, then, if you want me to get out your house, I'm signing with Carolina in this offseason. Sure enough, I went up to Carolina and stayed with him up there too as well. Like, dude, you need to get out my hair, man. I was like, nope, I ain't going nowhere. Wherever you go, I'll follow, just like Daniel Caesar said, right? And but man, it was amazing. But I'll never forget, man, Richard Marshall stand up in that team meeting, and I'm sitting next to LeBrandon Tofield, and you got Julius Peppers, What's his name, man? Played at Georgia. Davis. He
Oh,
was linebacker
yeah,
on
yeah,
that
Davis.
team.
I know you're talking about.
We had golly, we were loaded, man. Jake Delhomme standing up there. Jordan Gross was our starting left tackle. I mean, the team was loaded. Uh, man, I remember sitting back and they telling Richard Marshall saying, "Man, listen, you know where I'm from. I'm from Compton, dude. I have you killed for
Oh
doing
God.
some fake stuff like that." And I
Wow.
remember sitting there like, "Oh gosh, Jesus, this is bad, right?" You know. We had our team meeting. I mean, we met with as a team for 3 hours. You hear me? 3 hours. We didn't even let the coaches come in. Wouldn't even let them come in there. Mike McCoy was our passing game coordinator. Would not let the coaches come into the meeting until that was settled. When they finally let John Fox in there, John Fox like, "Hey, listen, we already over our time. Practice is canceled. Y'all come back, get you to dinner. We'll have our late night meetings." And ultimately they suspended Smitty for those first 4 games. But man, that was a time, man. But my experiences playing and coaching really come from just really the foundation of what people had invested in me. Jimbo Fisher, Frank Selfo, Mike Shula, Mike McCoy, Dirk Cutter. Well, I remember Dirk Cutter's a great influence in my coaching career. And Todd Monken, he was our receivers coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars when I was there. I've had some great men who invested in me, and they really wanted me to. I want to pay that back and forth with helping some other young men really reach their dreams and potential. And that's really the reason why I got it. I didn't get into coaching to win state championships. I really didn't. All the people who chasing that's great and all, but man, I reached them. Martin Luther King talks about. I reached the mountaintop. I got to the National Football League, man, and played some years in the league, man. Played in Canada, man. You think I listen. I want to win a state championship. That's the competitive side of me, and I've cried. I remember my first year at Scotlandville. I remember we lost 20-12 to them, and I thought I could have done a better job putting us in a better position to win that game. And I remember crying after the game in the locker room, sitting in the locker room by myself when everybody had left. But you know, I signed 9 kids to college scholarships that year. That's what it's about. A COVID year, we sent 14 kids to college at Scotlandville that year. The year of COVID, and you all know this, nobody was giving scholarships out. We sent Power 5, FCS, FBS, JUCO, you name it, D1, D2, NAIA. If you had any money to give my kids, we were going to hustle. And we had Chris Peters, who's now the running backs coach at Grambling on that staff. We had some guys who did it the right way. Cecil Thomas, he followed me from Walker to Scotlandville, came with me. And, I really just want to reinvest in these young people to see their dreams be fulfilled through football. And because I had my dreams fulfilled through football. So I want to pay it back to our community of kids as well.
Man, that's big for you. That's huge that you're at Scotland, but you signed all those people, and this was before the transfer portal and the NIL stuff. That's really big for that school and everything.
Yeah.
You might have to do us a little favor, Mr. Ricard. You might have to give a call to Rodell Williams and Brandon Tofield. We would love to have them on for Legends Month.
Yeah, man. Tell me when you want them, and y'all can put them on your highlight them, And
yes,
matter of fact, what I'll do is when we hang up, I'll give you those guys' numbers, and they'll be more than happy to come on. You talking about 2 Louisiana legends. Rodell is a guy that went 3rd round in baseball and football, right? Out of East St. John. LeBrandon Tofield, 5 years in the National Football League. Rodell, 6 years in the NFL. It's just great to see the men that they are. Tofield came down last week, bought his son fishing, drove down from Tampa. It's funny, the week before that, Rodell came down here with his son, brought him down to LaPlace for a week. So, man, those guys will be more than happy to get on and chop it up with you all.
Yes, definitely. Drop that to Mr. Boyd, and we can definitely set that thing up. It's to be awesome to talk to both of them about their careers, and we finally can get some stories out of Independence. Stories from you, St. John. We would love that.
Listen, I'm 3-1 against Independence. I don't care what Tofield's going to tell you. He's 4-0. Right? as a starting quarterback, I am 3-0 against. He wants to say, well, even he talks about Antron Seaburn. We all know how great Antron was. Antron was
Antron was the
dual.
fool.
He was dual threatened before Lamar Jackson was dual threatening, man.
Mhm.
So but yeah, man, we get those guys. Forte, let's get them all on here, man. Let's get these guys on here, man. I think it'll be great.
Absolutely. Also, now you move forward in your career a little bit.
Hmm.
You're training a little more. You're training
Yeah,
kids,
yeah,
and I think one of them maybe is your son, but at the same time, you're
yeah.
really training kids
He's
to.
6, man. We don't count him, man. He don't have a choice. Get your butt out here, man. You don't pay no bills. You don't pay for your food. Get your butt out here and get on this ladder, little boy.
I see him and I see some others. I see you out there
Yeah, yeah,
training. It's a
yeah,
new
yeah,
thing, but
yeah.
also you mentioned you're working now with these Baton Rouge Parish school systems.
Yeah. Supervisor of health and PE and athletics. Been in this role for a year. Got a big promotion. I hate to leave Scotlandville, but this was an opportunity I couldn't really turn away, man. I miss coaching, but I get my coaching into and I've done so much since I've done it. Weekly I'm on with Sports Zone in New Orleans with WGNO, with Ed Daniels and Aaron Lee and those crew. I
Yes.
was blessed to go out to Dr. Phil twice last year to talk about sports and sports health and the mental health side and entitlement of athletes. Man, it's just getting away from coaching. Though I miss it, has freed me up to God has opened up some other doors for me to walk through that I think if I was coaching, I couldn't have gone to Dr. Phil neither time, right? Because it would have been in the middle of the season. And I no way, even with Dr. Phil, he would have had to zoom me in. But I was able to fly out there and be a part of the show. It's really given me an opportunity to do some things that I've always wanted to do. And I'm enjoying every second of it.
You sound like a true man of the cloth, man. You sound
Yeah.
just like your father. You true
Thank you.
man in the cloth. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate it.
Yeah. I gotta ask you this before I get you back to Mr. Boyd on this
Yeah.
interview. The Tulane Green Wave, man. You look at their progress over
Yeah.
the years. It's been amazing what has
Mhm.
happened since after Katrina. You would never thought that the
Ha.
Tulane Green Wave would finally get their own football stadium. You would never
Yeah.
thought that winning would come a dime a dozen when Curtis Johnson turned some things around, and then all of a sudden you get Willie Fritz in here, and that's really has taken this school to another level in itself. You go from all the you remember Tom. We all remember Tommy Bond and what he's done,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was a while. But then all of a sudden,
Woo.
the Green Wave has been back up again with
Mhm.
Fritz, the run they made last year. What are your thoughts on the progress of Tulane athletics, especially football, and especially
Yeah.
what you've seen last season? Because I know you was ecstatic of what that
Oh,
team did.
yeah, man. I mean, I've compared it to Moses splitting the Red Sea. I've attributed to Jesus turning water to wine. The job that Tulane has done, especially under Coach Fritz. He is, listen, it's not surprising the success they have. If you sat down and met Coach Fritz for more than 2 seconds, you recognize the type of man and leader he is, and how respectful he is, and how wonderful he is to be around. I would have been blessed to have played for Coach Fritz. The type of leader he is, he's had conversations with my mom, and he doesn't owe us that. I didn't play for Coach Fritz. He treats me like he's one of his own football players that's come through there. And I've tried to do any and everything I could to help them because he is deserving of all the success. We talk about adopting sons, Joe Burrow and all these other ones, but man, I've adopted Michael Pratt as a little brother, man. Because he's earned that, man. I know people
I
would
agree.
think this is blasphemy, with guys like Sean King, but man, he puts together 5 wins this year. He is the greatest quarterback in Tulane history, and you can argue with whoever you want to. And some undefeated people might not want to hear that, but he is since the moment he's taken over to be a starting quarterback at Tulane, almost upsetting Ole Miss. I'm sorry, Oklahoma at
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma. Um, he's done nothing short than put out just tremendous stats. He's the bottle of consistency. And I would tell you this, man, Tulane today looks nothing like the Tulane when I played there. I went to their spring football practice. Monroe looks like he's ready for Sundays right now. This kid is 6'2", 210 pounds of just rock solid, just chiselness. He'll be playing on Sunday. You look at that offensive line getting Cameron Wire from LSU. They are huge. I mean, this is the biggest Tulane team I've ever seen. They look like a Power 5 program. And it's because, number one, you're going to get a great academic support staff, when you get there, and getting a Tulane degree is second to none. You can't tell me it's not. You're going to get a great atmosphere on that campus, in that community. New Orleans is no place like New Orleans. I go to New Orleans every week. Every week. I don't care. I find a reason to go. It ain't got to be work or nothing. I am coming to New Orleans because it's that special of a place. On top of that, now the success of football and really the sports community, as students have gotten behind Tulane, man, I cannot wait, man. We were looking at the calendar of when we're going to start elementary sports here in East Baton Rouge Parish. I started looking at the schedule. They go their first 4 of the first 5 games are at home, and the one that's sandwiched in between is at Southern Miss. I had to push the start of our elementary sports back because I can't miss these games, man. I can't, man. And so, we're going to have our elementary sports here in East Baton Rouge Parish. And, man, I ain't missing no Ole Miss game. I'm not missing South Alabama. I'm missing Nichols. I'm not missing Southern Miss. We got revenge back for Southern Miss for the win they got at Tulane and Yeoman last year, man. So,
Right.
Man, it's a beautiful thing, man. And when Tulane is winning, man, to see how the city got behind them last year was phenomenal, man. It was awesome.
That sounds like a road trip to me, Jared, going to Hattiesburg.
Rolling out of here, man.
Look,
we rolling.
VK, I got a full call ready. That game. No lie.
You got a full call?
I do a full call ready.
Yeah.
No lie.
Yeah. Who else is coming? Like family?
Family. My cousin Parker, my mama, and Parker brother Pierce.
What?
We all going because Parker's sister is going to Southern Miss.
Really?
Yeah, for school.
Oh wow.
Lester, don't worry. I am a Tulane season ticket holder, 6 years strong now. So don't worry.
Good, man.
And he's got a ticket for me. I've been to a couple games last year.
Yeah.
I've been to 3 games, including the championship game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But what you were saying, more than anything else, I think some of the undefeated guys, which I know personally.
Oh yeah.
They are not offended what you're saying. They say that team is better than that team. They said it. And it's amazing because of the
I gotta stop you. We had Terrell Harris last week. He didn't say
that.
Well,
some of them
I'm a little surprised because of the fact, man, I met up and ran into Terrell at Hooters the day of the game.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing was, the way he was looking, the way he said, the statement he said was, this team, I don't know if they're better than us, but they are as good as us. And I think what they have done is a lot of higher barometer than we ever did.
Yeah, the impact is greater. The impact was greater. And you had to be at one of the last 2 games, the Cotton Bowl as well as the AEC championship game.
I was at both
off the charts. Dude, I've never heard that little stadium so loud. When Tajay, not the touchdown run, it's when he got injured. I was like, and it was Tajay. And I'm sitting there like, this is Tulane. Wow. Like, how far have we come? How far have we come? So,
I told Jared, Lester, and I told him that day of the game I was there. I said, this is going to be the biggest test here. Will the Tulane fans stay in the second half? Will they stay? If they stay, it's like, all right, this is real. And they stayed. I said, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen since the Saints won.
Super Bowl.
The Saints went to the Super Bowl and won it. This is amazing.
Man.
I said, wow.
I agree. I completely agree, man. I know LSU has had a lot of success, but with Tulane doing what they did last year, because we were at the Memphis game. It was a packed house, but then fourth quarter, they getting out of there. You know what I mean? East Carolina game, they getting out of there. Southern Miss game, they getting out of there. That AAC championship game was like, that was on steroids, and I think that's going to bleed over to next year. I do, because I think there's a new, I think there's a new culture that's been set of the expectations moving forward, and so because it wasn't fun to stay there. You know what I mean? It kind of got low, but man, it's going to be fun. And let me tell you something. South Alabama, people talk about the Ole Miss game. That South Alabama game is going to be huge.
Yeah,
very huge on what the seasons are going to be.
South Alabama has been really a good program. Everything. I think the Ole Miss game is the game of all games, because to me, I think if Tulane wins that one, that will solidify the stamp of Michael Pratt being the best quarterback ever at Tulane.
Oh, no doubt.
That will give him the icing on the cake.
I'll second that.
Because I think that's going to be a great game. I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest college games overall of the year.
Man, and listen, if they're undefeated, if both are undefeated, I mean, we need to get on there and petition game day. Where you been, game day?
Yeah,
we need you in the building. We need you in the building, man. This is a monumental moment for us. So,
most definitely. Lester, you talked about being on Sports Zone with Ed Daniels and Aaron Lee. Y'all talk about prep football. So do we.
Yeah.
First question. Who or what team in this state can make a surprise run in the playoffs?
Who? You want to go by classifications? You want to go by the biggest? Well, listen, we can start in 5A for sure. And I've seen some 7-on-7 stuff this summer. If I'm looking at it right now, Select. If I'm looking at Select, you got to look at, I would think Curtis would be the favorite to repeat. And the non-Select side is not shocking. And we talk about runs and the other team too. I think Westgate. Listen to me. Westgate.
Yes, sir.
Lord have mercy. That team is loaded. Lord jeez, that team is loaded. So right now, and I think, and listen, listen, Jared Phillips, that's a Tulane boy. I hope they can get it together. They've been knocking on the door, but I think Westgate and Curtis will be the class of Select this year. And non-Select, I think Ruston is coming out of non-Select. Ruston's loaded. Loaded. Don't sleep on Destrehan. I talked to Greg Bowen last week. He sent me some videos. He said, Lester, and I hate to be throwing our business, our little personal conversations out there, right? He said, look, I'm sending you a YouTube video, 10-minute video of our quarterback in the spring and then all our 7-on-7 clips. Just trying to break them down. Once you come down here, get some throws in them, see. He sent me the clips. That kid's got a shot. He's going to be a sophomore next year.
Jackson Fields.
Holy moly.
Yes,
in 2 years, he's the next great Destrehan quarterback. Yes. And that team is loaded. Problem with Destrehan this year is that they're missing 1 or 2 offensive linemen and probably missing 1 or 2 D linemen this year to repeat. Not saying they can't repeat, because and big old Marcus, we trust in my boy Mark, man. That's my boy, man. But nevertheless, I think in those highest 2 classifications, you don't ever sleep on Bryce, right? You don't ever sleep on them, and Select side as well, because they are loaded as well. See, they have the linemen that Destrehan need, right? They do, man. I don't know where Bryce is growing them out of the ground, but Lord, when your second team D line looks like that, man, you that's something that ain't right, bro. Yeah, like, spread the wealth, Bryce. Spread the wealth. Spread the wealth, man. Spread the wealth, man. Wow. And I'm gonna tell you this, can't sleep on David Brewington. You can't. David always a rabbit in the hat. He really does, man. He's got some. They gonna play. They talk down here. They play for that Zachary pride, so they'll be there as well. The other divisions, I'd be lying to you if I said I played close attention to him. I guess you got to think, oh, shoots, it's easy. Lafayette Christian and select side. Man, dude, you got Juwan Johnson coming back. I mean, ain't nobody tackling him in no division. Ain't nobody tackling him.
Is he the
Nobody.
best quarterback in the state?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
why yeah.
I say it
Yeah.
because I put that poll up yesterday, and a lot of players from St. Thomas More hit me up in my DMs attacking me. Like, how you don't say our quarterback Sam Altman? They were upset, and I know it's a rivalry.
Good. Good for Sam. But no, this levels, man. I mean, this kid, what he did to De La Salle last year, oh my gosh, that was criminal. That was criminal. Like, no human should be able to do that, man. Nobody.
I think Juwan Johnson, like, to me, and I talked with one of our other co-hosts about performances in the dome, and to me, and I can say to this day, the greatest performance I've ever seen a player in the dome last year. What he done against St. Thomas More was criminal, and it was just too bad that Lafayette Christian's defense didn't make the key stop to win.
Now, let me tell you something. That kid from St. Thomas More, the throw he made on that touchdown.
Yes, agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh. I said that's a Sunday throw. That's an Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if you got to go back and watch. That kid threw that ball 55, 60 yards.
Yes, he did.
Off his back foot and dropped it on a dime. The question I had when they scored was, I think it was like 36 seconds, maybe a minute. I forgot. It was between 30 and a minute left.
They scored quick,
they give Juwan too much time, man. And, credit that defense. But, it's a shame, because I'm going to tell you something. It's a shame. And I don't know how the LHSA, like, they reclassified and moved teams in different divisions, because they moved the University of High down to Division III. When they just won the Division II state championship against E.D. White the year before, I don't understand that. And I'm saying that because I watched U-High 7-on-7 a couple weeks ago. Quarterback they got from Mississippi, tight end they got from Mississippi. Dude, that team is loaded as well. I would have loved to see U-High, St. Thomas More, and Lafayette Christian just battle out, because that would have been – those three would have put out a dog fight like no other this year. I'm trying to think, who won the Division II non-select last year?
Lutcher
did. I haven't paid attention to that division. I think that last year, I think Archman would have contended for it if the kid, the tight end, wouldn't have gotten hurt. I know Will Randall wouldn't have gotten hurt. What Arch did against Humville last year was like, wow. You take this little, and I say this non-racially biased, but you take these little rich white kids out there to Humville and do what they did on the road. It was like, wow, man, this is crazy. But Arch was special. Arch was special. He's a different kid. So, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Coach Curtis is moving on from Manny. To seeing what they're going to be doing. I think he said he going to Natchitoches Central. I think that's what he went on to. But I think those three divisions right there. I'm looking to see Westgate and Curtis with Carr
Westgate's in non-select.
Yeah, they're not.
No, they're not either. No, they're not.
Yeah, they lost to Destrehan.
Yeah, they lost to Destrehan and Simmons.
Yeah.
No. Pump the brakes. You're wrong about that. Listen to me.
We were there at the game.
Hold on. Let me get this right. Okay. So Curtis beat Catholic last year. And
Brother Martin beat Karen Crow on the select side.
That's who it was. That was Karen Crow. You're right. You're right. You won. I
want to compete with you, man.
You won. You're right about that. It was Karen Crow. Yeah. Because, you're right. Because Easton played Karen Crow the week before and lost in the quarters.
Sure did.
That's right.
I remember. All right. I'm smelling what the Rock cooking. I am. Hey man, Westgate gonna win it all in non-select then. There you go.
There it is.
There it is.
I'm like this. You're gonna look at it from the non-select side. It's gonna be one or two things. Westgate should be the favorites. Destrehan definitely a favorite too to go back to back. But you're gonna have either a Destrehan Westgate in the dome or Westgate Ruston in the finals.
Yeah, it's one of those three. It's one of those three.
Yes.
Hey, dang man, you messed me up now. Well, shoots. I'm over here. I'm living in Baton Rouge. I don't know why I'm tripping. I mean, Catholic ain't gonna be far about on that select side either now.
That's right.
Catholic gonna have something to say.
Agreed.
Definitely
I don't
agree.
know. I don't know where they find those kids at. I do know where they find them at, but I'm not gonna say anything, because I gotta live in this community, man. But
Yeah.
Lord, you talking about big and up front. Them kids, they found that offensive line or just. I remember they played us when I was my last year walking, my second year walking. We played them in Jamboree, and we gave them a run at it. Jalen Cook went 85 right before halftime on a bubble screen with 4 seconds. He said, "No, I just throw it to Jalen. See if what he gonna do." And he said, "that 85." It's like that's why we throw the bubble screen to Jalen, right? So we played him in JV the game before the varsity, and I remember saying to myself like, "Why they JV so big? This ain't right." Like, if I'm a parent, I'm coming out the stands and say, "Coach Ricard, take my kids off the field. Please do. Take my kids off the field." They were that big, but Catholic can have something to say. Select might be more wide open than what we know, man. Kind of, but I'm gonna tell you, I told this, and you can go back and you can ask Ed Daniels a year ago, and I told Ed Daniels they were getting ready to play Zachary, so I was on there preparing for a sports zone, and I told him, I said, Curtis is going to win the state championship this year. He said, "What? You really think so?" I said, "I watched him against St. Paul's in the fall scrimmage. I was so thoroughly impressed with them. Kind of looked like the Curtis of old." And called my old boy, who was still the defensive coordinator and then they came down to Zachary, and Zachary beat the snot out of them, right?
Yep.
And we and my dad were on the sideline. I said, "Dad, that team is going to win the state championship." And they pulled it together, man. They really did, man.
They did.
Yeah. Man, we lost to JT them in the quarterfinals the year we were really good at Scotlandville. We were number 2 seed. They were the 7th seed, and we thought we could win it all that year. And we had a couple of things didn't go all the way. He kind of schooled me. I ain't gonna see how coached me, right? He schooled me on some things he did late in the fourth quarter, right? 2014, we missed an opportunity to score, to make it 21-20. They get the ball back. They go, I think it was like 95 yards. Something they hadn't run in 5 or 6 games. And we had kind of said, okay, there's no way they're going to run this because they hadn't run it recently when you watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Old school Curtis ran some load option, something he hadn't been, like he had running veer, and then he ran some load option. They ran 4 plays of veer option. By the time we could adjust to how to fix it, they was already in the end zone, man. It just like this old school 90-year-old dinosaur. Son of a gun, you. I want to take him and put him in a wheelchair. And
look, we got Jonathan Wells in the lobby. He's shaking his head because he played at Curtis.
Oh, rascal. Why you ain't retire, man? Go retire, man. Like, but just school me, man.
And who knows? This might be JT's last year, possibly. This might be possibly his last.
Break that record.
He's supposed to be breaking a record this year.
Let me explain something to you, man. JT ain't tired though. That's the thing. He's not.
He don't
tired.
look tired either, for real.
You know,
he don't move tired, man.
And he keeps himself in shape. Talking with him a lot of times, and had a very nice relationship with him and everything. And he always tell him, I said, "Coach, how you keep yourself in shape and energy?" He said,
50-some years.
He said, "V, I get up 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
I go get my walking in, then get my little coffee, and then I go to work."
Yeah, I mean, he is high energy, man, on that sideline, still to this day, man. So he's a blessing, man. I don't think we don't brag on one enough. We don't. We really don't. We really don't. He's special, man. He's special. So
Lester Ricard, thank you for joining us on the show, man. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll have you back in the future to talk high school football.
Yes, absolutely, man. Tell Jonathan I say hello, man. Good luck to him, man. I hope all is well with him too, and you all and your families as well, man. God bless you all, man. I appreciate everything.
Thank you,
God
Lester.
bless you. Thank you, Lester.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Look, this is my little man. He wanted to say hello, man.
Hey, yes, what's going
Yeah,
Oh, how
on?
you doing?
that's a little quarterback, man. That's a little future franchise, man. My little man. So
There we
he
go.
says, yeah, it is, man. Y'all be blessed, gentlemen. Thank
All right.
y'all.
All right, you
Thank you.
too.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
Yes,
right.
sir. All right now. Yes, sir.
As Lester Ricard, former Tulane quarterback. And now we're gonna move on. I just gotta get my graphics together, VK. That's all. They
No
changed
problem.
the platform on here, man. It's crazy. I'm trying to get George Pepis on here. We having trouble getting him on here, but we're gonna see if we can get Jonathan on here.
You
Let me
talking
get
about on the
his
website or YouTube, or are you talking about the whole
no
website
with
itself?
us.
Oh,
Yeah, us.
okay.
Yeah.
We always do switches
Because
right
I'm
here on
putting
hashing out.
just not going through with George. I don't know why, but I'm still fighting. But let's see if we can get Jonathan Wells in here. We got Jonathan Wells. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest. He played for the Houston Texans in the NFL. He also played at Ohio State, or let me say it correctly, the Ohio State University, and also played
Thank
at
you.
John Curtis Christian School. We have the one, the only Jonathan Wells. Jonathan, how you doing, my friend?
Man, life is great, man. How y'all doing, man? Appreciate y'all having me on, boss.
Thank you, man. We are doing
Thank you, sir.
wonderful.
Appreciate you.
Jonathan, I want to know who or what got you into playing football?
Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro, to keep it real. I really feel like God put me here to play football now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I went through tragedy as a child, losing a brother to suicide in my home when I was 7 years old. And that was right around the same time where I found football. And, I had a lot of pent up energy, a lot of pent up anger. And football and sports gave me an outlet to put it on somebody's ass, you feel me? So, really, before I even started organized sports, me and my dad, my late brother, we was on the Riverview up there, throwing the football. I'm playing one-on-one against my brother. He 12, I'm 7. My pops throw a ball out there. My brother just stopped running. He like, oh, hell nah. And I just hit another gear, dove, caught the ball. And I looked back and they was looking at each other. And like really from that day, bro, I knew I was special, dog. I had something different.
Definitely. You spoke about your brother. What was, your childhood like living in New Orleans?
I ain't living no projects or none of that. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother, all my family grew up uptown, Felicity Street. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I got people all around New Orleans. I grew up in Shrewsbury, Louisiana, along with my partner Ed Reed. We grew up. We played at Lemon Playground together. I left, went to Jefferson Playground. Ed came right behind me, and we ended up playing, pretty much playground all the way as kids together. You know what I'm saying? So. New Orleans was New Orleans, man. A lot of heartbreak, a lot of murder. You know what I'm saying? New Orleans is New Orleans, baby. You know what I'm saying? But I love it. That's where I got my swag from. That's where I got my toughness from. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm proud to be from the 504 for sure.
Most definitely. You went to John Curtis High School, John Curtis Christian School. Speak about your playing days at John Curtis, and especially the 3 state championships you won in a row.
I ain't went 3 in a row, so I don't know who wrote that on Wikipedia or whatever. We didn't win 3 in a row. I won 2 in a row back to back. We lost my freshman year in the state championship to Salmon 12-7. Then the next year, my sophomore year, we was up 19-7 on Salmon in the semifinals. I got hurt in the second quarter. We was up 19-7. And then the third quarter, like the first play, Mike Strong broke his ankle. So we lost both running backs between the second and the early and the third. They came back and beat us 20-19. If I don't get hurt that game, I already had like damn near 100 at halftime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We never lose that game, but we lost that game, you know what I'm saying? And then the last 2 years we came back and took care of business. But I played in 8th grade as well. I actually played in the state game in 8th grade. You know what I mean? So I count that, you know what I'm saying? I practiced with varsity, started a few games as a freshman. So I count that third one, but I was instrumental in the other 2.
Okay. We had Coach JT Curtis a week after he won the state championship. in December. Tell us, what was your relationship like with Coach JT?
Man, I love JT, dog. Ain't no JT Curtis slander around me. Not never. I'm not trying to hear it. You know what I'm talking about? Like, dude treated me like family. You know, I never was disrespected when I was on that campus. You know what I'm saying? Man, welcomed me into his home if I had to. If I was having problems at my crib, JT opened the door for me. So ain't no JT Curtis slander going on around me at all. Because one thing for sure, we do it the right way. We work hard. We don't cheat. All this recruiting and all that. I don't know nothing about all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's all these big-time recruits at? I'm still trying to find them. I grew up 7 minutes from Curtis. So you can't say they recruited me. You know what I'm saying? I paid to go to that school. You know what I'm talking about? So, yeah, ain't no recruiting going on. We working harder than y'all. We put that hand in the dirt. You got to come get it out the mud. I'm not trying to hear nothing else. I'm not trying to hear all these excuses. None. So, we legendary. We about to break this record this year. I can't wait. We going to cut up. And, man, I represent that Curtis to the fullest, dog. We work hard over there. Straight up.
Most definitely.
Yes.
I got to ask you, because I want to say you play with one of my cousins. Michael Meyer, do you know Michael Meyer?
Yeah, 4'5", 4'5".
There you go. That's my cousin.
You gotta ask him about that 4'5", That's an inside joke.
Hey, when I finish this interview with you, I'm gonna text him and say, "Hey man, what's that 4'5", I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah, that's my dog. Him and his little brother Aaron. Yeah, that's my people.
There you go. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to go to Ohio State?
Oh, bro, I'm gonna keep it real. Eddie George. When I saw Eddie George in '95, I said I'm going there. It was a no-brainer. Like it happened just like that. And mind you, Ohio State didn't even recruit Louisiana. I'm the first player ever to go to Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to go to Ohio State from Louisiana.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So they didn't even recruit down there. The only reason they knew about me was because of my big brother Chris Howard, who was at Michigan. So they got wind of the next one coming out of Curtis, and then they boom. Back then they couldn't contact me until like 11th grade. They was like the first people to contact me, and we hit the ground running, dog. You know what I'm saying? And if I had to do it all over again 1,000 times, I'm picking Ohio State every time.
Before I get to my next question, one of our fans got a question for you. He's asking, what year did you graduate from John Curtis?
I graduated in '98. My last football season was '97.
There you go. Your football career at Ohio State. Your senior year is when you became a starter. And most people...
I was a starter my junior year. I actually started, and then Coach Coop hated on me, benched me because of something I said in the newspaper, and then I had to work my way out the doghouse and all that. But that's a whole nother topic, you feel me?
Gotcha. My apologies. Your senior year, Coach Tressel comes in.
Yeah.
New head coach.
Yeah.
Most people talk about your game against Michigan. But before I get to that game, there's another game that you talk about. It's the game against Northwestern.
That's my favorite game. A lot of people don't know the backdrop to that game, that story, that week. Like, I was under immense pressure to perform and to start breaking some long runs because I was running hard. I was getting, 100 yards, 125, 69. But I had a little freshman named Lydell Ross who was on my heels. Okay? So, that game right there, I'm talking about I'm stressed. I'm in the hallway on like a Thursday night in the Woody Hayes at the practice facility. Everybody going home. It's just me. I called JT Curtis. Nigga, I'm damn near in tears because this is what happened. My running back coach called me in his office right before that, and he said, Jay, if the draft was today, where do you think you would get drafted at? And I hadn't put it all together, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I say probably like, 6th or 7th round, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was realistic. He was like, man, the scouts telling me, man, you're a free agent right now, dog. You need to get your shit together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
I leave out of there. I go call JT. JT calm as JT always. Hey, Bo, listen, just, it's going to happen for you. Just keep running hard and you're going to pop one. Man, this is the first night game in the new stadium, 104,000. We on ESPN live and direct. Second play of the game, I go 72 yards to the house to set that thing off. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And from there, I took off. So that's why that game is nothing beats the Ohio State team up north rivalry. Nothing gonna beat that. But for me personally, that Northwestern game is where I got my stride.
Talk about that team up north right quick. When y'all beat them, you had 3 touchdowns, 129 yards. First time in 6 straight tries that y'all beat them, and the first time y'all beat them at their home since 1987. Talk about that for a second.
Listen, it was like a weight released off our shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously it was never about the talent. 9 times out of 10, we was ranked higher than them most times. We had more talent, more people get drafted. But in the 90s, we just could not find a way to beat them. You know what I'm saying? When it matters most. So I was blessed to go 2-2 against them. My big bro Eddie George was 1-3. My big homie Raymond Harris was 0-5. You know what I'm saying? So we started to like get our momentum. But the whole key to that whole rivalry is Jim Tressel. Period. The hire of Jim Tressel, when he came in, he changed everything about Ohio State. He changed how we thought. He changed how we move. He added the Michigan practice to the schedule all the way in the spring before that. Like, we had never done nothing like that. So we had designated time where we practiced on nothing but Michigan. So it was all, he put the clocks in the weight room. So they had a countdown until the kickoff of the game the whole year. Wow. So he changed the whole rivalry because he came in and he was confident. But I never blamed Coach Cooper for the Michigan losses. That's on the players, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You ball out every other game. You 11-0, 10-0. Then you get to the Michigan game and you don't make no plays. That ain't on Coop. Come on now. So I never blame Coop for that. I blame us. We didn't make enough plays. And my sophomore year, we should have beat him against Tom Brady was the starter. And we was up by 7 and with 5 minutes left in the third. I broke a 76-yard run and I got caught at the 5. We get no points, missed the field goal. Tom Brady come back and beat us 24-17.
Yes, indeed.
So I had to live with that all the way until my senior year when I got back up there. And I had it on my mind that day. They wasn't about to do nothing with me, dog. Nothing.
Man on a mission that day.
I only played one play in the second half. You know that?
I did not know that.
Wow.
I only played one play in the second half, fam. My whole lower body cramped up. Both my calves, both my hamstrings, my ass, my stomach. I was in the locker room getting IVs most of the second half.
Yes, indeed. Wow.
Yeah, but we was up 23-0 at half, so we was able to hold them all because I had already put in work. But yeah, man, I ain't even get to finish them. I was about to do some Tim Biaka-Matukas in there. I'm telling you.
So I'm looking at these stats, and these stats should be bigger than what they're showing.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was the first game they let me off the poach because if you see, I was gonna have at least 40 carries that game.
Yeah.
They never did that for me. Every time I have 19 for 180, they take me out the game. I don't even get my 200. They was playing. Man. They did me that 3-4 times. I'm like, bro, let me get off. He finally let me get off in the Michigan game. Then my whole body cramp up on me. I'm like, Lord. Yeah, I'm still drove about that, dog. I had it on my mind that day, dog.
Yes, indeed. George Pepis, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The floor is yours, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank God the internet finally works. First of all, Jonathan, how you doing, man? Thank you for making the time to join us. It's cool to really talk to you. I gotta say though, man, this background is not for me. I mean, I'm a Michigan fan, dude. I mean, I'm just gonna straight tell you. I know you
okay.
Listen. It's to the good. I know you went to Ohio State. You did your thing, but talk about John Curtis, your time there. And again, mention with Jared about nobody can badmouth JT. I'll say this: anybody who does, that's extremely slanderous. I'm on record as saying that.
Well, you're just a hater, and most people hate greatness, so it's cool. It's all good, but
exactly,
it's nothing factual to it. I can guarantee you that.
Oh no. All this recruiting nonsense was stupid, but it is what it is. That being exactly, I'm the same way. But listen, talk about JT the person more than JT the coach. How did they mold you and guide you and steer you towards your career goals and into when you went to Ohio State and onto the NFL?
Well, JT was tough on me at first. When I first got to Curtis, I want to say in 8th grade, he was tough on me. I remember my first scrimmage. I scored a touchdown, ran a dude over from, I think we was playing Fauché maybe. Ran him over. I was trying to get up, and he pulled me back down. So it looked from behind like I was dog pounding him. JT ran on the field. I'm talking about, went crazy on me real quick. But he ain't never had to do that again because, it's all about team at Curtis. You know, nothing's about individualistic. So anything coming with that, he gonna knock that off the bat. So he taught me how to be a team player, bro. He taught me how to be tough as hell. And I also got to give a big shout out to the second most influential person at Curtis, which is Tommy Moffitt, the strength coach.
Yeah.
Tommy
Yes,
Moffitt, the best strength coach of all times. He really turned me from a really good person to, in one summer, he turned me into a stone cold animal. I gained like 40 pounds my first summer there.
Let's talk about your greatest moments at John Curtis. What would you say as your number one greatest moment? I mean, you won a state title there, but individually, what was your greatest moment there at Curtis?
Nobody ever asked me that. That's a good one, bro. My greatest moment at Curtis, bro. I know we was a part of the 300 win, his 300 victory of all time. That was special. We beat Shaw at I think, I don't know, we was at Gormley, we was at maybe on the Horseman, whatever the hell that shit name. But yeah, that was good. I think the Hammond victory, because that Hammond game in '97 when they had the 4 horsemen, when they had them that 4x1 team that was like breaking records in the state, and they had all this track speed on their team and all that. The hype leading up to that game, that was probably the biggest hype that we had leading up in, and we went out there and punished them boys. So that was probably my favorite. And I closed that game out on 4th and 1 as a linebacker. Slam dude, he fumbled the ball. We go running off crazy on the field. Meet Vic Valoria. Yeah, that's my favorite memory right there.
I hear you. And then when you were recruited to go to Ohio State, what was it ultimately that led, besides that you mentioned Eddie George, but were there other factors that influenced you to go to Ohio State besides him?
Yes, that would have been Tim Spencer, who was my running back coach. Because at that time he was number 3 all-time leading rusher in Ohio State history. So I had major respect for him as a running back, and also he played a lot of years in the NFL. So he had been where I wanted to go. He was top 5 in Ohio State history. So who better to be coached by? He coached Eddie George. He coached Robert Smith. He coached all these great running backs from Ohio State. So he was the second big reason. And then my third reason, you probably won't believe it, Bone Thugs and Harmony, man. I was a Bone Thugs fan, man. The Cleveland boys. I was ready to go to Ohio, I'm telling you.
So, I hear you. So damn the cold weather, right? It's all good.
Now I wanted that.
And then
I wanted to go play in the cold. Like, I don't know why. I just wanted to go play in the snow. I wanted to get away from New Orleans. I got to keep it real. I wanted to get far away, see something different, become my own man. And I didn't care nothing about the weather, though. The weather didn't bother me one bit.
So, I mean, the cold weather, it is what it is. Look, you're a rare breed. I mean, a lot of people want to come down to Louisiana and get away from that place up north to come down here. But
that's why the SEC keep winning all these championships. When we gonna play a national championship in New York? Come on, get in these elements, man. Stop playing in the Superdome, man.
Yeah, all that climate control stuff, right? There you go.
They talking about the fans don't want to go. Our fans gonna be there. They there every week.
Sure.
20 degrees, 15, 10 degrees.
That's
we
right.
gonna be there.
See what I'm gonna say this to my co-host. What Jonathan said. I'm gonna say this to my co-host, and I know Jonathan, you gonna back me. Listen, the Big Ten's got some passionate fans, mostly at private level. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, their fans travel. So you could send them to Timbuktu, and they're gonna be there.
Facts.
That's fact.
Yeah. No
Big
brain.
facts.
No brain.
Exactly. And look, this isn't bias talking. Look at the bodies. I mean, look at the bodies they show. Jonathan, talk about your time in the NFL with the Houston Texans. Tell me how can I say it? I mean, tell me your time about your time. What was it about the Texans that just you just give me your assessment of your career with Houston?
Well, I didn't have a choice. They drafted me. You know what I mean? So,
well, obviously,
my draft process was what should I say? It didn't go as planned. Let's put it that way. So I was extremely disappointed. I was actually pissed off that I got drafted so late. 99th overall. Back then it was first pick of the 4th round. So I didn't understand with the running backs that were coming out that year, with me going to the Senior Bowl, dominating, taking everybody's spot, starting in the game, showing y'all that these boys is not on my level. Plus, I had 1,300 yards in the Big Ten with no QB. Let's keep it real. I didn't understand how I slid so far in the draft. So I came into Houston pissed off, to be honest with you. that's why I was able to use that fuel and that fire to come in and, after week 4 or 5, I was the starter. You know what I mean? I came in and I started 10 games my rookie year, rushed for almost 600 yards. Obviously, we were a brand new franchise. So my offensive line, we were all young. I don't throw my offensive line under the bus. We were all rookies. We had 7 rookies starting on offense. That's unheard of. Wow. You never heard that in your life. So they spent all the money on the defense. So, we got pounded back there, man. But Houston was great. As far as the city of Houston, it gets no better. You know what I'm saying? We had a ball, we kicked it hard, and they embraced us because they were just happy to have football back in the city of Houston at that time.
Sure, the way the old Oilers left, I mean, that was a pretty bitter thing that happened with Bud Adams and all that.
Exactly.
My last question before I pass it on to VK. Who is the best player at any level that you've ever played against? Like one dude where it just was like, doggone, this dude was just monster. Who's the best player you've ever played against?
That's easy. Well, it's not. Yeah, that's easy, especially in college. This is LeVar Arrington. This man was a stone cold animal. Period. At Penn State.
Yes, sir.
Going to Penn State against him, Courtney Brown, Brandon Short. Man, it was different. I tell you like that. It was different in front of 110,000 up there. So. College, him, nobody else really stood out to me like that in college because I never took no big shots or nothing like that. So him, and then in the NFL, Junior Seau caught me slipping one time. Rest in peace to the GOAT, Junior Seau. He caught me well. I remember that lick, but I man, listen, I don't really look at nobody like that. We all competitors. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at none of them like that. Hall of Fame or not, I don't care nothing about none of that.
Well, Jonathan, man, it's good to have you on and everything. Appreciate you taking the time. You named some legendary names from Curtis. Vic Valoria was one of them you mentioned. I know you played with somebody I knew, Eric Favorite.
Yes, sir. Man, little homie. Yeah, he fade. Yeah,
it's my people right there. And then also you mentioned Jeff Curtis, the assistant coach there. I had to shake his hand because I tell you, I played at St. Augustine High School. I graduated in 1997. The 93 and 94 game, 93 dominated by Chris Howard, and then the next year Kevin Dukes. But I still ain't forget what Jeff Curtis did, that 4th and goal.
Yeah, he saved us.
That game was on WGNO, and I still ain't forget that. Every time I see Jeff Curtis, Jonathan, I shake his hand every time. I say, bruh, reason why I do that, because I don't know how you. We had 4 or 5 people in Jeff Curtis' face, and he got away and scored the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, he hit y'all with that duck step. It was over for y'all. Man, got missing. Yeah, it was over for you. I don't know. I'm froze on my side on the screen over here.
No, you good over here.
We good over here.
You good over here.
St. Aug was up 19-3.
Oh, I know. I was there. I was on that team.
Yeah. And
as a matter of fact, I played in that game. That was Buford Jordan. That's when he gave me the nickname Bobcat. We were playing against Roland Seymour, all them boys. Yeah. I played. I was a freshman. I played a little bit.
Absolutely, man. I mean, there was some great teams in itself, and the Curtis tradition. It's like tradition don't graduate from there anyway. But I remember those times, and I gotta ask you this. I remember those times that the 2 years against Salmon, and that was actually the Dwayne Woods years.
Yes, sir.
The Dwayne Woods years.
Great back.
Unbelievable back.
Great back.
You came back with a vengeance. Those 2 back-to-back years losing the Salmon, and you had an unbelievable year, and you really took charge, showing you must have had a lot on your mind that season just to break out and being that guy at Curtis.
Yeah, it was time, for us. You lose 2 state back then. You lose two state championships in a row, boy. We running looking like what's going on. You feel me? So we lost 2 in a row. It was no way our junior year we was losing. We went undefeated that year. Me and Brad Cochran was the starting running back. I'm 220, he 225. We dog pound through the state that year. We dog pound. So that's actually my favorite team. My junior year. Yeah, we smashed. That's the year we played Hammond. We played a bunch of good teams in the playoffs, and we ran through everything. We smashed them.
And Hammond really had some interesting secondary dudes, and that was really, really good. But y'all really showed out against them. Y'all ran the ball very, very well, and you really kept them off the field.
But that was one of them games. See, coming from Curtis, I know how to beat you. I only need 3.5 yards to beat you. I ain't gotta have no 80-yard run to beat you. I can 4 and 5 yards to the death, and y'all done. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, we gonna pop one for 20. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think my longest run in that game was 45 yards, but we didn't have too many long runs that game. We really methodically beat them down. You know what I'm saying? And I was playing a lot of linebacker at that time as well. So that Hammond game was legendary. I wish I could find that game. Somebody got. Do y'all know how to get access to old games? Y'all know how to do that?
Do you, VK?
Well, I don't even have that type of footage. The thing is, you might have to look all over the place. I ain't gonna lie.
What about Ken?
Somebody.
Ken?
I don't know if he has that. I would have to maybe check. But at the same time, you know, YouTube be popping up with all kinds of old stuff.
I can't find that one.
It's probably hard to find that one.
Yeah,
but,
I can't find that. They got a YouTube channel, and he got all like the old school games and stuff, but I can't find that.
Yeah. Right. But yeah. But at that time, I mean, it was just amazing how you came out that year. Y'all really set ablaze that year to come out with a vengeance and win that state title. Now, at the time, looking at that Curtis tradition, I'm gonna ask you this: which player at John Curtis to you was like one of the best players you probably played with, or one of the best players to ever play at Curtis, in your opinion?
Oh, that's easy. Chris Howard, monster. Kevin Dukes, monster. You know what I'm saying? Clarence LeBlanc, monster.
Clarence LeBlanc.
Yes.
Monster.
Clarence LeBlanc.
Eddie Bivens, monster. Yeah, no, we had monster. The boy that went to Florida, Big Badu, went to 6'6", 315, 300, monster. I played with a lot of monsters.
Absolutely. And Clarence LeBlanc to me is probably one of the best safeties that I ever seen play.
Hands
myself.
down, period. I told him when him and Eddie Bivens was starting, man, that was torture.
Right. Yeah. They had some really good safeties at the time. He was one of them. You look at him, Ryan Clark, Sean Johnson. That was some hellified safeties around in those 90s. Yep. Now you look at the time. Now you mentioned those players and everything. I really think I look at Joe McKnight as one of the best that ever come out of Curtis. I look at Johnny Thiel as one of the best. I have never seen a Curtis quarterback that can do it all, as in run and throw the football, as Johnny Thiel has done.
That's crazy. I don't even know who is that. I watch every Curtis game. I watch them all still right now.
Well, he started 2 years at Curtis, and then he transferred to East St. John. And
what year?
It was around 2000, I believe. It was around.
I was in college. I was in college. Yeah, all right.
I think it might have been 2000 or 2001. I mean, he was really good. Like people compared him to what Danny Whippine did, but with him, you talking about rare times when one of the few brothers playing quarterback at Curtis.
I played with a brother. I played with Andy, my boy Andy from the West Bank. Yeah, I played with a brother too at QB. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing what it can do. But at the same time, looking at the times now, looking at way back, your opponent. What was your toughest opponent that you had ever faced at John Curtis that you ever had to go against?
Man, we had some tough games against Shaw. I think we beat Shaw 14-7 my junior year. That was a tough one. But we actually went to Alabama, man, and played these boys in the country. Ooh, boy, we came back. We were so for about a week or two. We're coming back playing them boys in Alabama. I remember that's one of the most physical games where I can just remember being pounded and physical. Yeah, that Alabama team. Who else? That's all I can think of like that. You know what I'm saying? But we played a lot of close games. Now I'm not trying to say like we blew everybody out. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
Gotcha. Looking at coming up this season with John Curtis and what they have done, especially last year, like I can say over the years, there's been a lot of evolution over the years of John Curtis. Last season, for one of the few times, and I told this to a couple of my co-hosts when we looked at the game last year against Brother Martin, I said, this is one of the few times we've seen old school Curtis last season. Mix it up, the dives, the option. And we even seen a drop back pass and everything else. It was amazing stuff what we seen last year. This season, JT Curtis possibly could have the all-time winning mark. What are your thoughts on him getting that feat? And there's maybe a possibility that this could maybe be his last year.
I don't, barring any health issues, I don't see this being this last year. Like he said, JT still got a lot of energy. JT, he not like the guy that was coaching over in Virginia, whoever had the record, who was sitting up in the press box, wasn't doing nothing. JT still out here active, still cussing out, still smacking shit. So, I can't see him. I'll give him about 3 more years, and then he might have to shut it down. But as far as this year, I can't wait till we break this record. You know what I mean? So I got my eye on that. You know, I'm definitely gonna be in the building when it's time for that to go down. Just like I was there when we broke 5, when we went. He won his 500 game. I was at that one. So I'm always at the milestone game, man, because it's a hell of a tradition what we've been able to put together over the last 50 years, and I'm proud of it. You know, I don't know, a lot of people may not be proud of it, but I take high school football very serious. So I'm proud of that shit. So I'm gonna represent.
Talk about at the time you was at Ohio State, you winning the Big Ten championship, beating Michigan. You go on. Talk about your experience, and those was really one of the last few days, and they still do their best with the tradition of the Rose Bowl of the champion of the Big Ten and the Pac-10. I'll go to Pac-12 now. What was your experience at the Rose Bowl?
I never played in the Rose Bowl. My freshman year, we were number 1 in the country for most of the year. We lost 1 game. So I ended up coming back home to the Sugar Bowl my freshman year. So imagine that. Crazy. So we played Texas A&M in the Sugar Bowl. And then after that, we fell off the wagon, bro. You know, we made some bad decisions with certain positions, and we lost a lot of production at some major positions. And we fell off the wagon my sophomore year. Then my junior year, we went 8-3. And then Tressel came in my senior year, and we ended up going 7-5. We was up by double digits in like 3 or 4 games. They came back and beat us. So we lost a lot of heartbreakers my senior year. But then obviously the next year when I was a rookie, we won the championship. So it's all good.
VK, let me stop you 1 second. One of our fans got a question for Jonathan. Jordan Taylor asked, will John Curtis go back-to-back this year?
I don't know yet. I got to get on there and see what we working with. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm out the loop. Now I watch every game Friday night. I'm live. I don't care where I'm at in the world. I'm gonna watch my Curtis game. But I'm not in the loop like that to know who we got, what's coming back, and I'm not in the loop like that. So I'm actually headed down there this weekend, and I'm gonna stop over there and see what's going on and holler at the fellas. And we're gonna be in the mix. We'll see.
Tell you what, 3-headed monster on offense. Dagan Bruno at quarterback. You got Michael Turner at wide receiver. Jason Gabriel at running back. It's a 3-headed monster. Real talk.
Okay. All right. So, that's what I like. That's what I like to hear.
There you go.
So what are your thoughts of Curtis now? You know, over the years, it's been like we mentioned, the evolution. You going from winning in a small classification, winning to the highest classification. And now that John Curtis is in the Catholic League. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on John Curtis playing in probably the toughest league in the state of Louisiana?
I mean, it's never been about that for us personally at Curtis. You know, even we could be in -1A. We'll still play the best team in Texas. We play anybody. We don't care nothing about that. We can't help with the state of Louisiana and the rules they make, and they keep making us switch divisions and all that. We've been trying to play 5A. Why you think every time we was in 4A, we start our preseason with all 5A teams? It ain't like we running from nobody. You know what I'm saying? That's on the state. Y'all keep making us move because we win so much. That's the whole problem. You keep switching up divisions, trying to stop Curtis. That's all you've been doing for 20, 30 years. Keep it real. So that ain't our problem, though. We play anybody, anywhere. I don't care nothing about no classification. We get busy, period.
See, hearing that from you, Jonathan, that gives me a lot of respect more for John Curtis. Yeah, because I always said John Curtis don't run from anybody.
Man, I wish somebody in the state of Louisiana tried to play with us talking about we ducking them. In what world? Come on, man, knock it off, man.
It's just like when people talk about my alma mater, talking about we run. St. Aug never runs. It's like we're one of the few programs that's like, hey, it's like schools like John Curtis, schools like St. Aug, schools like Edna Carr, schools like Archbishop Shaw. They don't run. They're gonna play the best to prepare for the season, and that's what they do.
Yeah, man.
That's the tradition.
I done heard it all, and I smashed all of that. I'm not trying to hear that, man. Come out here, put your hand in this dirt, and stop these 3 plays. That's what you need to do. So I'm not trying to hear nothing other than that. Anything else is
Absolutely.
uncivilized. Come stop these 3 plays, my boy.
Absolutely. And I know you really express things. Let's be a little real. I'm gonna ask you this question. Let's go a little outside of John Curtis and let's talk a little bit about Ohio State.
Mhm.
Okay. Ohio State, Miami.
Who is VK? Oh, go ahead. Ohio State, Miami. Go ahead.
Ohio
All right.
State, Miami. When
All right.
Ohio State won that national championship, what are your thoughts? Did you think that was the right call at the end when they called the pass interference on Miami to extend the game?
I don't care nothing about if it was the right call. He called it. But guess what? If you go back and you call a hole against Michael Jenkins on 3rd and 12, because I got the footage pulled up for anybody who won't smoke. Go look at the 3rd and 12. For we shouldn't have had to punt the ball. We should have ran the clock out, and we shouldn't even went to overtime. How about that? Y'all told us we wasn't even supposed to be on the field. Why was it that close? We wasn't even supposed to be there. What you mean? I'm not trying to hear nothing. Yeah, I was on the sideline of that game. I was there. So I'm not, man. We punished them people, dog. We put hats on and them silver bullets was in there. That's what happened. Yeah. Yeah. Go get Dre Johnson. Go get whoever you want. I ain't trying to hear none of that.
Amazing. I just had to ask you that, John, because I know you're Ohio State alumnus through and through. And I'm like, okay, let me throw something in there for him. Let me ask him that because I know that game was interesting in itself.
Not only did we break their heart, we broke their program. They ain't been the same since.
Well, you ain't lying.
Talk to me.
I'm a Florida State fan, and I hate to say it, I'm a Florida State fan. As much as I have a dislike of the Miami Hurricanes, I'm one of the few people that can say I do feel sorry for the program. And to be honest with you, from that Ohio State game, yeah, but I'm gonna be real with you. When the Orange Bowl tore down, that's when the program went down. When the Canes don't have their own stadium, knowing that's one of the toughest place in college football to play, the toughest place, because if you go on the Orange Bowl, it's just like when you play John Curtis. Come in there wrong, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in. You're coming in wrong, get your teeth kicked in. So I'll take it. It's tough for Miami right now to just share a stadium. So they just have not been the same program at all. But I gotta ask you this, Jonathan, and I'm gonna let Jared go ahead and finish things up. What do you take from your career in the NFL, and what do you take from that? What you learned from that in your experiences, and what that experience mean to you in your life that you're going forward? And I know you're still involved a little bit with the Texans, working with them. So tell us what the experience in the NFL has learned for you.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. First of all, I'm proud to even say that, coming where I come from, I made it to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So that's first and foremost. My career honestly didn't go how I wanted it to go. It was definitely way shorter than I planned for it to be. My decisions, 1 or 2 bad decisions, dog, would take your life on a whole nother course. You feel me? So I was one of them guys. I never got to my second contract because of 1 or 2 bad little decisions. And I live with that regret. I got to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I cost myself a lot of money, millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Cost my parents. So I have a bittersweet memory of the NFL, to be quite honest with you. But as far as the Houston Texans go, it was a first-class organization, man. We had the brand new stadium. We was the first one with the retractable roof. Like, we put on in Houston, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have nothing bad to say about the organization. Like, when I left, they signed me for 4 years. I played 4 years. Matter of fact, I started my last 2 games. You know what I'm saying? So, I can't be mad at the Texans, but I went a lot of years not messing with the NFL at all, not messing with the Texans at all. So I'm just not really getting back locked in with the Texans the last couple of years. And I'm glad they opened their arms for me because I'm having a ball. And we about to turn this thing around, my little bro, CJ Stroud here now.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I seen you representing the Texans, showing Stroud around and everything else. You
No,
know,
I don't show them around. I don't show them around. But yeah,
just being the ambassador.
Yeah.
And everything else. But I tell you, it seems like it really you're the type of person that still gives back to the community. You always give back to the sport. You be on social media expressing your views and stuff like that and everything. It seems like, but at the same time, you always have a love for sports and also for the game itself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always player first, man. You know what I'm saying? I love the players. You know what I'm saying? That's why I did radio, for the Browns for a year and a half. But I don't like talking down on players. You know what I'm saying? Especially not no player that's making $100 million playing football. Like, nigga, what I'm gonna tell him? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like doing that. So I battle with that. There's a lot of people asking me to do a podcast for years. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, not right now. So I really been holding off on that. But I don't know. It's I forgot what the hell I was saying. Don't trip.
No, you good, my man. You good, man.
Jonathan, we'll get you out of here after this last question. You got into entrepreneurship. You started the J. Wells Media Group. Tell us about that.
Well, actually, when I got out the NFL, I started a record label in Atlanta called From the Ground Up Records. Okay. So we actually had the song "It Ain't Tricking If You Got It" that was number 1 on 106 in Park, yeah. top 15 on the Billboard. That was my group. I put them out. We signed them to Sony Jive.
Okay.
So that was my first entrepreneurship endeavor after football. So it kind of worked. It kind of didn't, you know what I'm saying? But it was a great experience. It only took us about 2.5 years out the league to work that deal and get that deal. And so I'm proud of that as well, having a little success after football because most people don't. I'm like right now, I'm focused on being an ambassador for the Texans and really getting my health together. You know what I'm saying? I have a little health challenges and stuff like that. So I'm really just, I'm chilling right now, man. I ain't doing too much, bro.
Gotcha, man.
Yeah.
Jonathan Wells, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And, man, best of luck to you in the future, my man.
I appreciate it, boss. Thank you.
Wish you the best, bro. And if you have any context with Ed Reed, tell him we would love to have him on Legends Month this month if you could.
I'll get back with you. It's complicated, but
we know we understand. He got it's almost as hard to trying to get Ryan Clark on the show.
I can get him on the phone, but I can't guarantee nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I get back with you.
That's no problem. We'll see you during the season, man.
Appreciate it, boss.
All right. Jonathan Wells, ladies and gentlemen. George Pepis, are you still there?
Yes, sir. All
right. See, I don't have George on the big screen, VK, as you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's here. We got George. All right. Cool. Jonathan Wells. All right. Let's get to a little high school football for a little bit, all right? The first thing I want to talk about is who is the best quarterback in the state for this year. I put up a poll last night, and I talked about it when we interviewed Lester Ricard. And I asked, is Juwan Johnson, who plays at Lafayette Christian Academy, the best quarterback in the state this year? And over 60% said yes. But I got a lot of slack and a lot of slack from a lot of players from St. Thomas More who said that their quarterback is the best in the state. He doesn't get looked at like he's supposed to. So, okay, I had no problem with that. You feel a certain way, you feel like your quarterback's the best, cool, no problem. But I'm gonna go first and I'll let y'all go. I don't vote on it when I put it up. I let the people vote. And that had over 120 votes. But now on this show, I'm going to say who I think is the best quarterback in the state. And the best quarterback to me is definitely Juwan Johnson. Hands down. You heard Lester Ricard say it is Juwan Johnson. To me, there's no better quarterback in the state this year than Juwan Johnson. The things he could do, escape the pocket. He's mobile. He can throw the ball. And the state championship game and the De La Salle game and the game against Turlings, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the state championship. If you didn't see the things that he did in those games, you got to go look it up. He murdered De La Salle. He murdered Turling's Catholic. And in my eyes, he should be a state champion. When you put up over 600 yards, total yards, in one game, you should never lose a game. They lost 52-48. They were up 48-38 with 2 minutes left, and they lost the game. To me, Juwan Johnson is the best quarterback in the state. Sam Altman is a good quarterback. If you watched him in the last 2 minutes, those throws he made were on the money, like Lester Ricard said. But Juwan Johnson, to me, is the best quarterback in the state. George Pepis.
Everything you just said is absolute, 100% undoubted, undisputed truth. Jawan Johnson, I watched that De La Salle game from play one to the finish. And I didn't make it in time to the Superdome to catch the St. Thomas More game. If you can't remember, I got there right at the end of it. But like it, look, there was another show once upon a time on ESPN called Numbers Never Lie. Correct? That was Jamel Hill and Michael Smith.
Yeah.
Those numbers that dude put up, and look at the defenses that dude did it against. The weakest one of the three was STM. De La Salle's defense. And some people are going to say, well, it's a little squared because they didn't play a great schedule. Lies. The district is not challenging, but they play some good teams outside of district. And that's a good defense. And look, they've got one of arguably the best offensive players in the state in Kedrick Richardson. And that's a team that's going to be an interesting one to follow. But my God, Jawan Johnson is a senior. He does everything that you want in a quarterback. He's a leader. He could throw it. He could run it. He could beat you a million different ways. VK, I don't see an argument for anybody else. Altman's a good quarterback at St. Thomas More, but he's not transcendent in my mind like Jawan Johnson. I think Jawan has next level greatness to him. And I feel like that dude, if the recruiters don't get stereotypical, that guy's got a ton of D1 offers coming to him. And I don't know yet who's interested in him. But if I'm a D1 and I need a game changer, that's my guy.
Wait, VK.
I agree. I definitely agree. Jawan Johnson, there's no doubt in my mind that he is the number one quarterback. Now, Allman realizing he's returning this year, he's definitely number two. He's definitely number two behind Johnson because of the year he had that year. The game he had in that dome was good as anything else. Not better than what Jawan did, but what he done in them last couple of minutes to getting St. Thomas More that state championship was unbelievable in itself, especially that touchdown pass. And, Allman is really good. I don't think he's number one quarterback. He's number two. He's definitely number two behind Johnson. And then right behind him, you have other quarterbacks too as well. I think Dagan Bruno's number three. Number four, to me, right now, to be honest, would be I would give it to Amari Cooper as number four. Number five, I would give it to Braden Williams over at St. James. He's returning this year. Then right behind him would be Greg Donaldson. Greg Donaldson is really good, has good experience. Now he's going to have the full keys to the car for Warren Easton. And the last time we seen a similar situation like this was Keaton Thompson, who was under a two quarterback system. Senior year at Landry Walker, what happens? They win the state championship. So, regardless of the fact, and give a lot of credit to St. Thomas More's players who stood up for their teammate. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I get it, and it gives us a lot of attention. So I like that a lot. Big ups to those guys. You know what I'm saying? They're the champs. They have the right to brag, and they have the right to stand up for their quarterback. But at the same time, in our opinion, Jawan Johnson is definitely the man this year, especially if he stays healthy. And the big question I'm going to ask you the guys right quick before we go forward, will Jawan Johnson play quarterback at the next level? Because think about it, Jawan Johnson's only 5'9.5", 5'10" maybe.
Nah, he's playing DB at LSU. He's going to DB. He's not playing quarterback. He'll be a DB. But our good friend DJ13, he got the eyes at you because he's like, where's Santana Price? from McDonald 35.
Well, here's the thing. I can't forget about Santana Price and DJ 13. I'm glad you mentioned him. Santana Price, and I might have to read. This is just an early prognostication. DJ 13. Once I get everything together, I'll put it in there. Santana Price is definitely in the top. Is one of the top 5 quarterbacks or top 10 quarterbacks returning this season. So once we get everything down pat with rankings and all that, Santana Price is going to be in there. We can't forget him because we're trying to get all the losses of players to the players that's returning. Because some of the players we thought they were seniors, and you find out he was a junior last year. And I thought Santana Price was a senior, but somebody said no, he's got one more year on his belt. And I was like, okay, so my bad. But at the same time, in the same time, DJ 13, but I like Santana a lot. I think he's gonna do great this year. And I seen that comment earlier, my friend. I know you're probably a Canes fan, my friend. You need to check your facts. The Noles took down your Canes last 2 years. Check your facts, my friend.
All right. Look, a good buddy, Jordan Taylor, who is one of the hosts for Under the Lights show that they do on Friday nights at around midnight. He's in here, and I know he could probably tell us more about the STM and Lafayette Christian rivalry, and probably some about the Lafayette schools. But I mean, think about it. St. Thomas More won the district and won state by beating Lafayette Christian, and I think this rivalry is going to a whole nother level now going into this season, and they don't play until week 10. And we know that district is tough because you got Westgate and Turlings Catholic, North Vermilion, who I said got to the quarterfinals in Division 3, is in that district, plus the Northside Vikings. So that is a tough district. And man, it's up for grabs. It's up for grabs this year in that district, but man, it's gonna be tough. That week 10 game is gonna be something else.
You got a bunch of great week 10 games in itself, man. I mean, I tell you that whole district, and George can agree with me, 2 of the toughest districts in the state this year. It's that district and the Catholic League.
Yes.
It's the
correct.
2 toughest districts you're going to see this year in the state of Louisiana.
I'll say this, interjecting in reference to the Lafayette district, and you mentioned it, that those 2 Titans are going to play in week 10. They could be playing for second place because Westgate boys might be my pick to win this district. I mean, Jawan Johnson is terrific. Jabari Etwan is special. That dude is big special, and I think that's a difference maker. And I feel like, and it's only July the 11th, and we've still got 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, or something like that to the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I may just go out on the limb and take Westgate to win that district. Those 2 that are playing in week 10, LC and STM, might be playing for second place. They might. Because Westgate can win this district, young gentlemen. Defense wins. Look, offense wins games, but last time I checked, defense wins titles, and Westgate might be that good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Ricard thing. So because he said they win in state. So
and then you think about it, the STM game, the STM Lafayette Christian, they might not just play for second place, but could be a top 5 or top 3 spot in the select playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's still going to be a critical ball game, regardless of the maybe not a first place game, but maybe not just for second place. Big time playoff contention in week 10, because remember, Westgate is in the non-selects. So if Westgate wins the district off top, they're going to get the number 1 spot in the Division 1 non-selects. They're going to be the number 1 seed. And then the winner out of St. Thomas More and Lafayette Christian will probably get a top 3 seed, top 3 or top 4 seed.
I agree. All right, to our last topic of the night. the High School Football of America put out its top 300 football rankings. And Louisiana, there are some schools on that list. So, hear me closely. Number 44, John Curtis. Number 49, Catholic. 61, Carr. 76, Destrehan. 79, Brother Martin. 121, St. Thomas More. 142, Ruston. 153, St. Aug. 162, Zachary. 171, Lafayette Christian Academy. 186, Turlings Catholic. 201, De La Salle. 246, Westgate. 248, Warren Easton. 252, University Lab. 255, St. Charles Catholic. 270, Karen Crow. George Pepis, is there any team or any number that you disagree with?
Okay, I know I joked about this earlier, so I'm not going to do it again. But for all the jabbering we do back and forth between you and I in reference to our respective alma maters, why isn't Archbishop Shaw on this list?
I'm gonna say
I think.
this. I'm
Go
gonna say
ahead.
this.
All right.
Don't think Shaw's on the list just after having one winning season, after having so many losing seasons. I think it has to
Right.
be
Mhm.
consistent.
I get it, but in reference to what the difficulties, administrative difficulties, and look, you had some lean years with Tommy Connors, and Tommy's a good guy, but it just they never took off him, and you got Hank back. Granted, he's north of 70 now in age, but you know what? I saw a little pep in his step and a sprite in his step last year, and Shaw looks like they're about to make a major run. Now, it's not I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Shaw is better than any of the teams that are ranked. No, I do think Ruston, for all the stuff last year, that was a young football team that got to the Superdome against Destrehan, and they just couldn't beat them. They couldn't. Simple as that. Um, but I think that's a learning experience team. I think that's a team that could build off of last. Obviously, they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. That might be the best team in Northern Louisiana, Ruston. They just might be that team. Better than West Monroe, better than Neville, better than, well, I can't say Evangel because they've kind of slid back. Um, better than Bird. I mean, but there's a lot of quality teams up that way. But Ruston could supersede them all. And that's going to be in the non-selects. But I may just lay it out there and put the Bearcats back in the Superdome. But look, Division One non-select is ridiculous. It's hard. It's going to be ultra competitive, and I feel like they have a major say so. But VK was talking about seeds. I want to bring this up to you. Westgate is in the non-selects, right? With Destrehan and them, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, that's a good question. Jordan Taylor's asking. We can answer that in a minute.
I'm gonna answer him. Yeah, I'm gonna answer him after you. Y'all give
Okay.
y'all answers. I'm gonna get.
I'm going to put this hypothetical out there. VK scenario. Westgate. If Westgate's the number one seed and Destrehan makes the trip to Westgate, remember last year Westgate went to Destrehan and that game was close until a defensive touchdown put it away. You think Westgate turns that result around this year? I do. I think they'll get him this year. Look, Destrehan's got to replace a few pieces, and I love Marcus Scott. Y'all know this. Marcus is a great guy. We all love him. He's a great coach, great man of God, and does everything right. Runs a clean program, and it was great to see him win the ring last year. But I feel like if they got to make that trip to Westgate, boys, I think Westgate might have a little something for them, a lot of something going into this year. What do you guys think? Is that scenario plausible?
I think it is. I think it is. It just really depends on what's going to happen. I think it is plausible, especially if Destrehan be on the side of Westgate and Westgate has the higher seed. I think Westgate, and to me, if it comes down to it and Westgate hosts, this is going to be probably the biggest home game in the history of Westgate, because the reason why their semifinal games in the years of their history has been on the road. They have never hosted a semifinal. This will be one of their biggest home games ever. Destrehan
They
coming
hosted
there.
one, VK. Let me interrupt. I think, didn't they host Rummel in a
No,
semi?
what?
Wasn't that game?
And that was a quarter.
No. That was a
I thought it was a
semi.
semi.
It was a semifinals, but it wasn't at Westgate. They played it in Lafayette on
Oh,
Cajun
that's right.
Field.
Yeah, they didn't play at Westgate. They went to Lafayette. Okay,
Gotcha.
I forget circumstantially. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I remember that game being that way. I just thought it was on campus.
No, it wasn't on campus.
Okay, correct me
And
wrong.
and,
I'm
and I,
corrected then.
I think if this happens and if they don't move the game and it's in Westgate in their backyard, that's gonna be one of their biggest semifinal games that they ever will host. And if they
The
win
biggest.
that, it's gonna be crazy, as Westgate gonna return back to the dome and try to give them another state championship. But the thing will be in the other scenario is if Destrehan doesn't have the higher seed against Ruston, and they got to go up the trek to Ruston. The thing about Destrehan, they gotta have the higher seed over one of them teams if they're going to host. But I think if they go on the road, it's gonna be tough sledding for the Wildcats. Do they have a chance to get in the dome? Yes, but it's gonna be tough.
Back to my question, VK. Is there a team in this top 300 from Louisiana that you disagree with their ranking?
Not at all. I agree with all the rankings. I agree with all the rankings. It's based on what has happened in the past 5 to 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Ruston being up there, they're up there because of the fact of what has happened to them the last 7-8 years. And because you have to think with George saying about they could be the best. No, they are the best team in North Louisiana. I said this years ago. The takeover's coming because of the fact of the matter was Ruston had at that one time before they lost to Ponchatoula about a couple years ago. They won 5 straight playoff games on the road. I kept saying Ruston's coming. They're coming.
Correct.
Because you keep seeing the chinks in the armor for Neville. You've seen what happened when Warren Easton went up there and beat him down. You see West Monroe. The chinks is in the armor. The power is shifting. And I think the power has shifted to Ruston. They are that team in North Louisiana right now. But all the rest of the schools, I definitely agree. It's good to see St. Aug up in there. It's good to see them up in there, regardless of the fact, that they have not been to the Dome 79, but they have made good runs to the quarterfinals of the semis and had some really good wins on their schedule. It's good to see Carr, but I know eventually Shaw get there. But Jared made a great point. It's just 1 year that they had a good year. Get back on Front Street. That's what they got to do.
I think the rankings should also be based on what could potentially happen this year, what you have coming back. That's another part of it. I think that's another factor. And VK, I got to say this. You, sir, last year were all on Ruston until they got to the Dome and bailed off. I don't think the alumni want you touching them this year. Leave them alone.
Look,
You need to leave them, dog. You need to leave them people alone and let them do their thing, baby. Let them do their thing.
I'm gonna let them do their thing, but I'm giving them I'm the prognosticator.
You gave him props and you backstabbed him, Judas. I mean, VK.
Oh no, I didn't
backstab. He couldn't backstab his boy Marcus Scott.
Thank you.
Dude.
Yeah, what foolishness is that?
Come on, man. Listen to me. If it was
you got the answer to the Ruston Bearcat Association, sir.
Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Let me tell you something. To all the people in Ruston, I'm gonna be real with you. I've been riding with y'all. I'm still kind of riding with y'all because I've been paying attention to your program. If it was any other team outside of Destrehan, I'd have took Ruston in the title game.
Oh wow, okay.
If it was any other team outside, when Destrehan got in there, that's when I'm like, okay, Destrehan's gonna win the whole thing. I wanted to see Marcus Scott finally get him a state championship. He done got over so much, and now it's like, it's just like in wrestling that certain wrestler that they finally get over, and he got over. So if it was any other team outside Destrehan, I'd have went for the Ruston route. I would have went for the Ruston Bearcats, and I wouldn't be surprised the Bearcats will be back.
But the ban's still in effect, sir. The
Huh?
ban's still in effect. You can't pick them. Leave them alone. You got to
All
pick
right.
somebody else.
All right. Look, before I get to my answer, let me answer Jordan Taylor's question. Could we imagine 3 teams from that district the last year?
Oh, that could happen.
Yeah, it could
Absolutely could happen.
definitely,
Yes.
without a doubt. And what if North Vermilion makes their little run and gets there in Division 3?
Yeah, but Jared, I don't know if North Vermilion's better than those teams in that day. I'm not sure.
I'm not. No, I don't think they are either. But you never know what can happen.
Runs
never
happen.
know.
You're right. Runs happen. Absolutely. You know, but are they on paper? Are they that team to make that run against those groups? I don't think so. I think that they'll give a good account. Look, yes, they'll give a good account of themselves for sure. But
and
I
what
don't think
class
so.
they're in? What class they're in with North Vermilion?
North Vermilion is in 4A with
big boys.
Like St. Thomas more
Westgate,
but in Westgate, but they are in Division 3 non-select.
Division 3 non-select.
Yes.
Then.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Most likely, to be honest with you. Oh, I don't know, because you have to think who's in that district in that division itself. That's St. James and Lake Charles College Prep.
Manny, Union.
Manny and Union. But to me,
I'm not on many guys. Many I would eliminate because Jess is not there no more.
And I would eliminate
brand new coach at North Vermilion. Brand new coach at North Vermilion.
North Vermilion could be a factor. But the teams to beat, and I hate to say it, is Lake Charles College Prep and St. James. And they meet week 7. And I wouldn't be surprised that's going to be the rematch in the state title game.
I'm not saying Lake Charles College Prep yet. They should be there. They should make leaps and bounds than what happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the team that could go to the playoffs 2 years ago would have been there. And the year before they lost to Union in the semis. And they lost to Notre Dame last year in overtime. So I'm not saying Lake Charles College Prep yet. Let's see what happens. But I'm gonna stick with like a St. James. I'm gonna stick with Manny, and I'm gonna stick with Union. I'm gonna stick with those 3 in that class.
I'm saying I get what you're saying, but I'm going with St. James, and I'm going with Lake Charles College Prep because the thing is, I don't think Union. I think Union has lost too much, and I think Manny with the new coach at Manny, we'll see what the difference is. But I really think things is about to go a little bit to the left in Central Louisiana. It's gonna be a little bit tougher for them this year. So because the thing is, I think looking at Lake Charles College Prep, especially with the players coming back this year for Lake Charles College Prep, they're looking for vengeance. They're looking for redemption this season. So that's why I was saying those 2 teams, I would not be surprised. This is not going to be the only meeting they meet this year.
It may not be. It may not be, Jared, but I'm going to agree with you, Mr. Boyd, about LCCP. I'm going to take a wait and see on them. I think that on paper they're talented and they're going to do well, but I'm going to take a wait and see as far as projecting them to get to New Orleans the second week of December. St. James, I think, is the safest pick because of what they're bringing back, and I feel like that team is just elevate. And you talked about Central Louisiana VK. I'm not on many. I'm bailing. Jens Curtis was there. It was all good, but he's gone. He's at Natchitoches Central. I don't know what they have. I do know one team in Central Louisiana that comes out of the same district as West Monroe. Alexandria is going to be very interesting this year. I think they were a little young. They took some kicks to the teeth, but that team is going to be better. And I think they could surprise some people this year. Another team to keep an eye on, closer to home, and Jared mentioned this team a few weeks ago. What about the Yellow Jackets at Denham Springs? Boys, that is an offense that's going to destroy people this year. If they could get any comparable defense, this is a team we could see in New Orleans second week of December. It could happen. It won't be easy, but they're not going to be talked about like the Destrahans, the Westgates, the Rustons. They're not talked about in their breath. They're in that next tier. But Denham Springs could be very interesting too.
They got 7 of their 10 games at home this year.
The
Yep.
first 7.
The first 7. I mean,
Yep.
they got 7 to 10 at home. They got first 6, and then they got one more in between, and then they're on the road for the last 2. So they got
Correct.
7 home games this year. How many? There's not too many times that a high school team.
Shaw
I
got
could-
7 too. Shaw got 7.
Yeah, but
Well,
y'all
that's another team.
interspersed. Y'all games are interspersed. Y'all not playing 7 consecutive at the
Oh
Zimmerman.
no, not at all.
Y'all going to Texas week 2. The Carrico game is at Shaw, right? Week 10.
Yep.
Yeah, week 10.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
That's
game is
gonna
at
be a big
Shaw.
game too.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a huge game.
I have an idea for you guys that I want to discuss at length off the air for both of you. It
We're good
just
off the
came
air.
to me, and it's inspired by something I saw tonight. But I
Okay.
have an idea for the 3 of us.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
So
Let me answer the question I asked y'all about. Do I agree or disagree with this ranking? You know, rankings is just to get people to talk, and that's what we're doing.
Sure.
That's all it is.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at like a Warren Easton at 248, who been to the Dome 3 times out of so many years, and semifinals just couldn't beat Carr. I would have Warren Easton up a little bit, a little higher. But other than that, Brother Martin is the only team I might drop down, and I know why they're so high, because Bonice got to the semifinals so many times in a row and just can get over that hump. And after last year, you know, the offense couldn't get going into the playoffs, and they got to the Dome. I get it, but Brother Martin is losing a lot of key pieces. I would have Brother Martin down a little bit on that list. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be in this top 300, but if I was putting this list together, I have Brother Martin down just a little bit. Jordan Taylor has a legit question. Seminole is no longer at Baton Rouge Catholic. He is now at Central. How fast can he win at Central? What are your thoughts, George Pepis?
question again?
David
Oh,
Seminole.
Seminole. Okay, David, I see it. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what Central has coming back. I'm not familiar with their roster, but that's an interesting challenge, David. And look, David Seminole's a good coach. I don't think there's any question. The guy can coach. But again, I'm not really familiar with what Central has. It's not really a fair question to answer. And I'm not going to answer based on conjecture. Do I think Seminole's going to win there? Sure. But I don't know what he has there in relation to this season.
VK?
I say he can win over there. I say it will start around year number 2. I think this year, I think it'll be getting to know the
Get
community,
familiar.
getting to know the kids, getting familiar and everything else. And I know this is Sid Edwards behind the scenes trying to get it together. And that's an unbelievable job making sure that he got in position, because I think he's not there at Central anymore, but he wanted to make sure he had the right people in there. And he's got a good coach in there at Central. Remember, Central was really good under Sid Edwards at the time, especially what he done at Redemptorist. So now trying to get Central back to the fold and winning. It's going to take a little time, but I see year number 2, things are going to go up for David Seminole. I think he's a hell of a coach, and I think he's going to do good at Central.
I think, Jordan, you see the turn in year 2, but I think year 3 is the time when he has a winning record and maybe gets a playoff win. I think year 3 is the time. I think Central hasn't been that Central like it was, VK. It has not been there, and he got some work to do. And I was shocked when he left Baton Rouge Catholic to go to Central. I was shocked. That is something I did not ever see happening, but it happened.
But then here's another thing. When you look at the pros and cons and everything, I was shocked myself.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the pros and cons, especially public and private,
oh yeah, he's probably getting paid more money. Yeah,
thank you.
without a doubt.
It's
Definitely.
more money, and a lot more benefits when you go
Oh,
to the public school system.
Totally
No
agree.
doubt, but the thing that I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying, Jared. David Seminole left Baton Rouge Catholic. What does that say about what's going on at BRC as it relates to him leaving? That is a very stable program.
He was the head coach for 1 year. Am I right?
Exactly. 2 years.
2 years, okay. Okay, 2 years,
2.
okay.
But
Gotcha.
no, but still, the fact that he bails after that short a tenure to go to a program that let's like I said, you don't know what they've got. It's a little bit of it's a hodgepodge,
The work in
really. When you look
progress.
at Central at this point, they're not that stable program they were for years when Sid was there. You know, and they did a lot of damage. They upset some people, and they had some good talented teams. I'm not saying this is not one of them. I don't know exactly what they've got. But David Semino to leave Baton Rouge Catholic, which is an extremely stable program, even after, the turnover they had, he leaves after 2 years. What does that say about the Bears? What don't we know about what's going on at BRC for him to leave? I mean, money's one thing, but stability and program stability is a very big thing in high school football, and coaches they live off of that. As long as their programs and athletic directors are stable, they're going to stay. They're going to stay, and
But
that's just straight facts.
Well,
then sometimes
I'll
it
say
might be.
this. I'll say this. St. Aug offered Bryce 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 Brown a lot of money. They offered him a lot of money to be their head coach. Carr matched it,
Hmm.
and he stayed. He
Yep.
stayed.
But
Go
then
ahead,
on
VK.
but then on top of that, it ain't the fact that Carr matched it, but then on top of that, St. Aug, I don't think St. Aug wanted him to bring his own staff either. That's another issue in itself. Because the thing is, sometimes certain schools, like if you're gonna let me come here and coach, you gotta let me do my job. You gotta let me bring in who I can bring in. Now, if you got some people that can help, fine. But I need to bring in my guys. And
Hmm.
sometimes if they don't let him, that's not gonna work because it's almost like your guy. I don't know if your guy can help me. So I think staff was part of it too, but that was big for Carr to match the salary to keep Bryce Brown. And it's
Yes.
funny, somebody was on the talking about, oh, Bryce Brown might be John Curtis's JT Curtis. It's never happening.
No, that's not gonna
JT
happen.
JT Curtis has been at that school. This is about to be year 57.
Can
Year
you imagine?
57.
Can you imagine? 57 years in one school, gentlemen. What is that saying? I mean, and the
Man,
man's going to be the national record holder.
57 years working at one place and you're not retired yet, you must love what you do if you're
And
Definitely.
there
we
that long.
we know JT well, all three of us. We do. And VK, you and I have interviewed him countless times. That is one of the most personable guys, most intellectual dudes that we know. And he's in his 70s now. And the man still runs around like a cheetah. I mean, not literally. I mean, you heard Lester Ricard saying it about JT, and Jonathan Wells mentioned it too.
Yeah.
JT might be in his 70s, but the dude's got the energy of a 25-year-old.
Yep.
I mean, we saw it last year in the Superdome when they crushed Brother Martin. He was coaching them up, getting them right, and they wanted that shutout. Oh, believe you me, they wanted that shutout, and they got it. You know, but I see Jordan Taylor's question, and this is a heck of an interesting
It's
question.
a
Will we
great
see
question.
all three River Parish state champs back in the dome this year?
I'm gonna go
Of the
first.
three, the least likely, Jared,
Well,
is Lutcher.
you go first. Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Go
I'll
ahead.
take it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like VK here. I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
but
man.
You
Go ahead. I'm
are.
all
listening to
baby.
you.
But to answer, it's very simple. I'll say no because it's Destrehan, Saint Lucha, and whom I'm missing. Help me out here.
Charles Catholic.
St. Charles. I
St.
say
Charles
no.
Catholic.
Of the three, the least likely of the three is Lutcher. Remember, they've got some people to replace Dwayne Jenkins. Has done a great job there, and they got the title last year, VK and Jared. But I don't think the answer. I think the answer is no.
VK.
I say no as well. Lutcher has lost a lot of people. I think Lutcher will be competitive in a division that's not strong. So will they be there? They'll have a chance to get back, but I don't think they'll get back. But they'll build up to a big run the year after that. But St. Charles Catholic, I would not be surprised that they'll get back to try to get a three-peat. I would not be surprised because Wayne Stein has done yeoman's work into year number 3. So I would not be surprised, and especially St. Charles Catholic with their tough schedule, is going to prepare them, and I think they're going to have a chance to get back. I think they will get back. I think after 3, they have the greatest chance to get back there. Destrehan, it's going to be tough. They have a chance to get back, but all 3, nah.
All 3 teams going to be good, but I'm still I'm in agreement with my 2 co-hosts. I say Destrehan has the greatest chance to get back out of all 3. Destrehan has the greatest chance to get back. They're loaded at wide receivers. Running back Shane Lee, one of the best in the state, and Jackson Fields is going to be a quarterback we're going to talk about for the next 3 years. Believe that. Lutcher has a quarterback. His first name is Quinn. I do not remember his last name, but from what I'm hearing, in 7-on-7, he is lighting it up. He is lighting it up. And another coach told me, don't be surprised to see Lutcher back in the dome. St. Charles Catholic, on the other hand, they lost some key pieces. Aiden Altamont at quarterback was the heart and soul of that team last year. You got to replace him. I don't see St. Charles Catholic getting back. I don't. But I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. And Wayne Stein is one of the best in the game right now. So we will see. But I think Desiree has the best shot. Lutcher is a strong maybe. St. Charles Catholic, to me, is a no. And that's just my thoughts. Well, everybody, we thank y'all for tuning into tonight's show. We are back tomorrow night at 8:00 p.m. with another Louisiana football legend. Our guest tomorrow is the former quarterback at Southern University and the former quarterback of the Hornville Tigers. He led them to their last state championship. That is Bryant Lee. We will be live on the air tomorrow at 8:00 with Bryant Lee. I want to thank Lester Ricard for joining us, and I want to thank Jonathan Wells. George Pepis, do you have any last words?
I mean, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night with Brian. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he the quarterback when they crushed Evangel in 01 in the Superdome? He was the starting QB.
He was the starting QB. They didn't crush him, but they
35-14. Dude, Evangel's 14 points in that game before we go. Evangel's 14 points came on a pick 6 and a kick return. They scored no offensive touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
And they had 6 personal fouls and 3 ejections.
Hornville dominated, bro.
They did. They spanked them. Look up the stat line. I'm telling you.
I was there at the Dome and I watched
was there too.
Me too.
Jacob Hester did run for a touchdown.
He did, but they scored the first 14 in the 2 possessions. And then actually they scored what they scored on the return.
So how they scored the other 3?
A kick return. They had a defensive touchdown and a kick return. I think it was a blocked field by Hornville. I don't have the box line in front of me. Mm-hmm. But look, nevertheless, Bryant Lee is going to be an interesting interview. I'm looking forward to it. And stay tuned, guys, out there listening to us. Thank y'all for y'all comments and questions and whatnot. Yes. And because without you guys, this is what they call the quote dead time of sports. But you know what? Here on Hash It Out, we're showing you it's not the dead time. We're making it happen. We're making moves, and it's going to continue to build forward. And it continues tomorrow night with Bryant Lee. And stay tuned for the rest of this month because we got many more legends. And you know what? We just may have a few more for you after tonight, considering we could get LeBrandon Tofield and Roydell Williams will be a heck of an interesting interview. I've heard him. I know about him at East St. John. I mean, look, sit tight and get y'all snacks together and y'all just sit back and listen. And look, the best thing for us is interaction. For you guys out there to just interact with us. We love when y'all throw statements and questions at us because it gives us the opportunity to give you our mid analysis. And I say mid meaning no bias, no favoritism or anything like that. Yep. That's what we do. And that's pretty much it. I'm sorry that this doggone internet wanted to act a fool for Lester Ricard because I watched it and I'm like, Lester, you're the man, dude. I mean, you've We've done a lot of great things, and I had some good questions for him. And it's I can't blame nobody but the internet. Who
That's
knows?
it.
But VK, that's it for me.
Go ahead, VK. Any last words?
Man, this was a really good show tonight. Enjoyed every minute of it. You know what I'm saying? We're showing that we are the best up and coming sports show in the city of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana, and all over the country. We're really growing. Continue to watch this show. Continue to comment. Continue to like, share, and tag this show, the Hash It Out show, man. We definitely appreciate it. We got a good show tomorrow, man. So trust me, Legends Month doesn't stop. We got more coming. So stay tuned. And also stay tuned for August for the football season. We're working on some good stuff for you. A potential recruiting forum coming up. Also previews, all that stuff. So we got some stuff lining up, but enjoy this Legends Month.
Jordan Taylor, I'm going to message you how to get in contact with Shaw. You got to talk to the AD. So I'll give you all that when we get off this air. But for my two co-hosts, VK Jones and George Pepis, I'm JB, your sports guy. We are back tomorrow, 8 o'clock with Brian Lee. Please be back here with us. Until then, y'all take care.